you just going to ask me about the game last week?
Did you watch it? Welcome to the the Sound Live Sports Network. Old habits die hard. Good evening. My name is Steve Willits, and along with Keith Neely and Stephen McGrain, we are broadcasting from Edmonds Stadium, where tonight, an Edmonds School District rivalry between two schools that know each other very well, the Edmonds Woodway Warriors and the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. Keith Neely, I ask you right off the bat, two teams, two different conferences, but this game means something, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Anytime you've got an in-district rival, both teams playing a home game essentially tonight with the Edmonds District Stadium, their home turf, you've got something on the line besides the score at the end of the game. You talk to these guys sometimes in a week, regardless of football, just because you're used to being friends with them. You're going to talk about this a little more. It's just a little bit above a normal football game.
And these two teams each have a game under their belt so far. Let's talk about that a little bit. Stephen McGrain, you watched Edmonds versus Everett last week. Tell us a little bit about that game.
Davis Giles, quarterback for Edmonds Woodway, came out looking sharp, ended the game with 10 of 15 for 206 passing yards, 66% completion percentage, and then the running back, Junior Pocomensu, a lot of questions were there in regard to and Desmond Young. Pocomensu, though, 17 carries for 222 yards and 46 yards receiving as well. So they got a lot of dynamic players, and 6 different receivers were targeted by Davis Giles last week. Look for him to improve on that one as well.
So a big game coming up here for both of these teams. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Mountlake Terrace and what they need to do tonight. You're watching the Sound Live Sports Network.
This Sound Live Sports Network pregame show is presented by Dewar, Meeks, and Eckram CPAs, conveniently located in downtown Edmonds and Marysville for all of your individual and business year-end tax planning and preparation needs. Call Mike today for a free 30-minute consult or visit them online at dmecpa.com.
And we are back again on the Sound Live Sports Network. If you're just joining us, Steve Willits along with Keith Neely and Stephen McGrain, we are here tonight at Edmonds Stadium where the Edmonds Woodway Warriors are about to do battle with the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. Steve, we just talked to you a minute ago about Edmonds Woodway's game last week. Let's talk a little bit about Mountlake Terrace here for a moment, a team that had high expectations coming into this season, a team that quite frankly thought they were going to have a few players in their lineup that they're without right now. And it certainly showed last week. A 29-13 defeat against Stanwood last week. A game in which the Hawks were able to force 4 turnovers, but they gave 5 back. You can't win when you do that, can you, Steve?
No, and that definitely – we saw the second game, especially last week. You go forward and then something happens, it draws you back just a little bit. They need to minimize those turnovers this week in order to stay close in this football game against Edmonds Woodway. Edmonds Woodway last week, 3 takeaways against Everett up there. So they're a ball hawk. Two of those were turnovers. So Mountlake Terrace needs to hold on to the football and retain possession and keep time of possession in order to win this game.
At the high school level, it's not necessarily about out-dueling your opponent. A lot of times it's making less mistakes than your opponent, and that's what translates directly into a win. I think that's what Mountlake Terrace has to do tonight. They have to eliminate mistakes. They're going against a team that probably will out-duel them in a lot of areas, especially in the skill possessions. So you're going to have to make sure that you don't shoot yourself in the foot right off the bat and compete the entire way through 4 quarters of football.
And one of the challenges that Mountlake Terrace is going to have tonight, and you certainly don't like to make excuses for teams, but you have to feel for this team a little bit. Devontae Downs, who I was going to say is arguably the best player to ever come out of Mountlake Terrace. It's not an argument. He is the best player to ever come out of Mountlake Terrace. Generally regarded as one of the top 1 or 2 recruits in the state of Washington, tore his ACL before the season even started, scored 55 touchdowns in his first 3 years at Mountlake Terrace. He's not going to take a single snap this year on the field. That was rough enough for this team, and then to come out last week and to get hit by the injury bug even harder. Jevon Pawnui, all Wesco last year, both offensive line and defensive line. Not only that, but had more votes for all Wesco than any player on the line. He's out with a foot injury right now. Your quarterback, Justin Hopkins, was injured in the first quarter. He's out right now. Dexter Kemper, who starts both ways, was suspended earlier for academic reasons, or actually I guess it's from the administrative standpoint. He's out tonight. You just keep going down that list, and it just goes on. And for a team that, quite frankly, had a lot of talent coming into the season, but may not have had a lot of depth, it's dwindling down. And when you don't have a lot of that, 3 or 4 players can make a huge difference.
Both ways. That kind of is the name of the game in high school football. Yeah. And at the 3A level, a little bit less at the 4A level, but certainly at the 3A level, the depth is everything. And you mentioned maybe one stellar player, your all-star, not playing because of, got to keep him healthy for his career at Cal, being a Cal Bear. Yeah. But everybody else down the line, you're not that deep. It's going to be trouble, and especially when you're playing against a traditional juggernaut in the Edmonds Woodway Warriors, that's tough. It makes it really hard to play football.
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break here as the national anthem is about to start. Once again, you're watching the Sound Live Sports Network. And we are back once again at Edmonds Stadium. Mountlake Terrace Hawks, the Edmonds Woodway Warriors. A game that doesn't count in the standings, but you can't tell that to either one of these teams nor their fan bases. Separated by 3 miles, this is a huge, huge rivalry game, a game that neither of these teams wants to lose. Steve McGrain, you know a thing or two about rivalry games. As a player, what's going through your mind as you line up on this field?
You want to do your best and against those guys going right ahead of you. You just said 3 miles is what separates these two high schools. You want to go out there and perform to your best. But Keith kind of touched on this earlier. You don't necessarily know what the ending result is in the regular season until it's all over and done. But when you get in the winter and spring and you start talking about the memories, you remember these games, the rivalry games, because those are where your friends are lining up against you, and you get to have a little bit of an upside. You can do a little smack talk in that regard.
I think it's great because it's familiar territory for both teams. I mean, even though you've got Mountlake Terrace is going to show up as the visitor on the scoreboard, this is their home field. And the fact that they're going to be comfortable, Edmonds Woodway is going to be comfortable. Shoot, it's where you play every Friday night or want to play every Friday night. So you throw all that out the window. It's really mano-y-mano. It's right in the trenches. It's everybody wanting to play against brother, foe, friend, whatever it is across the freeway. And it's just going to be a good time. Edmonds Woodway will be the ones that get to receive first.
And having said that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Keith. Mikey Jensen, the sophomore kicker from Mountlake Terrace, is about to kick off at Edmonds Woodway. Will get their first shot on offense.
So we'll put a fresh 12 minutes on the clock here for another outing of football. The doubleheader is underway with that first kick. Mountlake Terrace will gather their defense together under head coach Tony Umayum. And John Gradwall, the coach of the Edmonds Woodway Warriors, will put his starting lineup on offense first. And he'll go right to Davis Giles, the quarterback. Davis Giles has really been working on his foot speed, something that we have talked about a lot, Stephen McGrain, in the offseason. That's something he really needed to focus on.
Well, we had one carry last week, and it was for 16 yards. He was able to do a sprint out to the right and pick up that first down. So he did work on that quite a bit, and he's also going to be giving it to Junior Pocomensu as well.
First down and 10. Giles goes under center. He'll roll out bootleg to the right-hand side. Has some room. There's those wheels. He'll turn it up. He'll get near the first down marker. He will scamper out of bounds. A 12-yard pickup. Davis Giles with the motor.
It is always nice to see those off-season workout plans produce results. That's exactly what Davis Giles just showed us right there. Last season, he wasn't as quick getting out of the pocket and especially going north and south. But tonight, first play of the game, he rolls out, picks up a first down, showing the speed that was produced through all that work.
Good decision made. Both downfield receivers were covered, and so Davis Giles elected to take it himself, and he does so with an 11-yard pickup. Under center he goes. He's got Mac McLaughlin, and Pocomensu will get the carry, goes left and shifts right, picks up 3 yards, and down he goes.
Hey, Keith, I'm going to go ahead and get our fans at Mountlake Terrace caught up on the starting defensive lineup for Mountlake Terrace, since it has changed quite a bit, considerably in the last 2 weeks. Starting along the defensive line, Caleb Davis is playing one end, John Pollinger is playing at the nose tackle, and Billy Parkins getting a start at the other end. Linebacking core, Chance Ragsdale, usually a corner, moves to linebacker. Brett Potter and Toby Munnis in the middle. Austin Bates, who's known as Fife around our neck of the woods, is at the other linebacker spot.
Second down, 7 yards to go. Ball on the 34-yard line. Caught there by Scott Myricks. He'll make one move and jukes a defender and picks up an extra 6 yards that he wouldn't have otherwise had. A pickup of 10 yards and another first down for Edmonds Woodway.
And just to get the rest of that starting lineup out, Isaiah Green making his first appearance of the season. Isaiah coming over from the basketball court to play some football and needed to get his practices in after playing basketball in the offseason. He's playing at one corner. Josh Hopkins, the twin brother of Justin Hopkins, the usual quarterback for the Hawks, playing the other corner. And then at safety, Annie Clossy and Ryan Lacoste.
Again, familiar eye offensive backfield for Edmonds Woodway. Play action. Back goes Giles underneath. He passes. It's caught. Quickly scampering forward is number 15, Mac McLaughlin, out of the backfield. The normal fullback has very sure hands, Stephen McGrain, and they showed him right there. Another first down for E-Dub.
Great play action set up right there by Davis Giles. A nice job by Mac McLaughlin just to leak out of the backfield a little bit on that right side tackle position. Catch the ball, catch it with his hands, which is always good to see coming from a fullback, and take it downfield. And the wrecking ball running over a few people as well.
4 plays from scrimmage, 3 first downs, and they're cross midfield now into Mountlake Terrace territory with 10:25 remaining first quarter. We're just underway. Edmonds Woodway on the march now. Into the shotgun formation goes Davis Giles. They'll wildcat it right to McLaughlin, who pushes the pile forward for a gain of 4 yards perhaps. Something that we talked about with the coaching staff before the ball game, that they've uncharacteristically gone more into the shotgun than they have in years past. We'll see how that plays out here tonight.
Well, the shotgun, you have a lot of different looks. There's a couple formations, but you can do a lot of different plays out of it, just like that. They just showed it. McLaughlin getting the snap, going right back to him and taking it straight upfield.
McLaughlin at fullback, behind him a Pocomensu. Giles turns around, gives the signal calls. He's got 2 wideouts. That's Myricks and Jack Scholl on the near side, and Pocomensu driven right to the ground by big number 42.
That was 42. Toby Munnis. Toby Munnis, who is usually an outside linebacker for the Hawks, because of some of the injuries, had to move inside this week. Had a shoulder injury during the offseason, had surgery on the shoulder, and did not practice much all spring. Ended up having a big game last week. Got an interception and showing that he can play a little inside linebacker too.
Spot on with 9:19 to go. The clock continues to run. The first third down for Edmonds Woodway. Really haven't had any problems marching off big yardage so far in their first drive of an early ball game. They're inside Mountlake territory, Mountlake Terrace territory at the 36. Rolling out now as Giles looks downfield, has a man open, caught at the 25-yard line. That is Jack Scholl. And Scholl now with his first reception. You mentioned, Steven, 6 targeted receivers. So far we've already seen 3 tonight.
Yeah, he does an excellent job of spreading the wealth out there on the football field, throwing the ball downfield. And I like how he gets out of the pocket and immediately gets it out of his hands. Gets it to the receiver so he can make plays and maybe break a couple tackles. That time he was brought down, but it was a good job.
And guys, that's going to be a challenge all night for the Hawks. The secondary was the Achilles heel last week. I'm sure Edmonds Woodway watched film. They're going to be looking at that all night.
A little 12-yard button hook is what it started out to be, coming back to the ball. Scholl, very nice move. There's a Pocomensu who goes right up the middle, untouched for the first 15 yards of his run into the end zone. Touchdown, Edmonds Woodway.
Excellent job. That left tackle and guard had a combo block, which means whoever has the lighter side of that goes up and gets the inside linebacker, which was the right tackle. Glockman came through, busted out the outside linebacker, and from then on it was touchdown for Edmonds Woodway.
There was only one dicey moment, a 3rd down and 8-yard to go play right at the 35-yard line. That was erased by the catch from Jack Scholl, and then the Pocomensu scampers in at 8:23 remaining in the first quarter for the first score, and the extra point tacked on makes it 7-0. So Edmonds Woodway on the board with a long drive, and we'll take a break on the Sound Live Sports Network. Thanks for being with us. Clogged drain? Other plumbing problems? Call Action Jackson Plumbing for 24-hour service. Owned by a lifetime Edmonds resident and Edmonds Woodway grad, Action Jackson is the drain cleaning specialist. They can unclog most internal drains for only $99 plus tax. Call 425-877-5601 or visit actionjacksonplumbing.com. Welcome back to the Sound Live Sports Network. Edmonds Woodway with an early first quarter score with 8:23 remaining, 7-0. And Brendan Davis, the kicker for Edmonds Woodway, will take control now and boot it on down the field to the Mountlake Terrace Hawks for their first drive of the ball game. Steve?
And the Hawks waiting for the kick, and it's an onside kick. Actually, it's more of a squib. Josh Hopkins, number 11. Nice heads-up play by Hopkins, recognizing that is a live ball. Jumped on it quickly and recovered it on the 37-yard line. Guys, I got to tell you, the Hawks had a lot of struggles last week on the kickoff return. Put a couple new guys back there this week. I've got to think if I'm Edmonds Woodway, I'm not trying to squib kick that, knowing that the return was a little bit shaky last week. Was that just a missed kick, or was that a planned play?
That was planned. You try to get those front guys to be paying attention, so maybe you can jump on the ball after it goes 10 yards, but that was not a missed kick at all.
Well, this is the best possession the Hawks have had off of a kickoff all season, and Jonathan Williams taking his first snap, and he shows it right away. Ball is fumbled, and it's still on the ground. Let's see who got it.
Oh.
And it's Edmonds Woodway football. Jonathan Williams taking his first snap at quarterback all season. They've been working on it all week. He was the receiver last week and having to switch positions, and it showed right there.
And you touched in the pregame about injuries. You kind of hope, guys, when people get that they can step up and do well. Might have just been the pregame jitters, get that first snap, but they got to be sharper the rest of this game.
Things change when you have a different quarterback. The communication changes, the body language changes, the nuances of snap counts change, and I think that's what we just saw there in the turnover. And we mentioned turnovers and the fact that they automatically have a giveaway now. That is not a mistake you want so early in the ballgame. Giles now will roll out, decides he has nobody downfield, bumps into a couple of would-be tacklers, and muscles his way for a 3-yard gain. Steve, I think that should have been a no gain. Somehow he was able to get enough underneath him. Perhaps some high tackles involved. still makes positive yardage.
He also had a little bit of help from that left tackle and left guard pushing that pile a little bit forward. But I like how Mac McLaughlin stayed in the backfield till the last possible second, trying to block that outside linebacker coming in on the blitz and trying to sack his buddy Davis Giles. Nice job of Giles not to realize anything was open downfield and just take it himself.
Second down, 7 yards to go with the ball on the 31-yard line on a 7:40 time on the clock. And there's the pitch off of Pocomensu, busts through with some acceleration across the 30-yard line down near the 25, where he's finally stopped. The second third down that will be coming up here on this second drive for Edmonds Woodway. And so far they've looked very impressive on the ground.
Yeah, nice tackle there by James Pollinger for the Hawks as well. Really the only player that had a chance at the tackle, as the rest of the line just seemed to manhandle the Hawks on that play.
Third down and short. Davis Giles looks around and gets the play call. They'll hand it off on the mixed direction to Pocomensu, who busts through almost like the touchdown he had earlier. He's still on his feet. He was backwards for the last 7 yards of his carry, had his back to the goal line, still kept the feet moving, and positive yards at big chunks now.
That was the exact same play as that touchdown, but the only difference was the inside linebacker blitzed in on the guard, and the tackle was just immediately able to run downfield and lay ahead on a free safety. Besides that, it was all open running and a nice solid pickup.
Edmonds Woodway scored early and then got a turnover off the first possession by Everett last week. History tends to repeat itself. We didn't think it would happen this soon. Mac McLaughlin with the muscle, then the jump. Did he get in? The ball is loose. Did he break the plane? They say no. It's interesting now is who got the football. Mountlake Terrace thinks they have it, and that is the indication. So on the 1 yard line, Mac McLaughlin dives over. On the jump, the ball comes loose, and the Hawks have second life now.
And Billy Parkins, number 56, coming up with the ball for the Hawks, and that is exactly what they needed. As we mentioned earlier, new quarterback tonight, a lot of new players along that line. You certainly don't want to take your second snap from scrimmage down 14-0 after fumbling on the very first play. And consequently, the Hawks coming up with the ball. Unfortunately for them, they're on their own 2 yard line. Let's see what they can do. Jonathan Williams takes the snap, hands off immediately to, I believe that's Chance Ragsdale, on the far side of the field, so we wait to see who the player is that gets up. That is, in fact, number 3, Ragsdale, moving forward for a gain of 3 yards. 2nd and 7 on the 5 yard line.
Nice job by Ragsdale to bust through that line in the hole between the right guard and the right tackle. Get hit with first contact, but keeping his legs moving to pick up those little extra inches.
And certainly Ragsdale is no stranger to varsity football. We talked about the loss of Devontae Downs. Ragsdale with over 500 yards of rushing at the varsity level as a junior last year. He's used to carrying the ball at this level, and you're going to see a lot of him tonight. And that is a handoff to number 4, Ennie Clossy, coming off of that left wing, cutting through the middle there. Edmonds Woodway ready for that one, stopping that one immediately for maybe a gain of 1, and that's going to bring up a 3rd and possibly 7, maybe 6.
By the time the center for Mountlake Terrace, Drew Clippert, got his head up, and he's not a small kid, 6'2", 240. A nice swim move was done by the Edmonds Woodway defensive tackle, and that's what broke up that play in the backfield.
So we might be looking at the first pass of the night for the Hawks. 3rd and 7, their own 5 yard line. Williams calling a play right now. Ball might have been tipped a little bit. Gabe Brady with a nice catch. Quick slant there. Brady catches the ball on maybe around the 14 or 15 yard line. Runs forward to the 18 and a gain of 13 for a first down. However, there is a penalty marker in the backfield. Or I'm sorry, in the defensive backfield. And, Stephen, that's going to be a call against Edmonds Woodway, a personal foul, illegal use of the headgear. You don't see that very often, and just what the Hawks needed right now. Ball goes from the 18-yard line to the 33, and they've got a new set of downs.
Which always helps getting penalties, going against the other team, and moving the ball another 10 yards down the field. But I like it. You got a quarterback who's slightly uncomfortable in his first Friday night game being a starting quarterback for your football team. Do nice quick slant routes. Just get the ball out of his hands.
Yeah, Brady, the team's leading reception guy last week with 4 catches. He has his 5th one of the season tonight. And Ragsdale barreling off of the left tackle, cuts it back into the middle, almost gets the first down, a gain of 9.5. and that's going to leave the Hawks just a bit short here, and 2nd down and 1 coming up. I stand corrected. They're moving the chains. 1st down for Chase Ragsdale.
I like the way Ragsdale runs. He's got a wide base with his feet, so if he gets hit on one leg, he still has good enough balance to keep his other leg going and maybe break that tackle.
So again, the Mountlake Terrace Hawks looking at another 1st down, this time at their own 44-yard line. 4:31 to go here in the first quarter, 7-0. And that play is going to be blown dead, as I couldn't tell which side it came from. Looks like it might be Hawks offsides.
Motion penalty.
And motion penalty, 1st and 15 coming up for the Hawks.
The right guard of the Mountlake Terrace Hawks jumped the count, and you can tell immediately because the whistle blows. If the Edmonds Woodway player would have been in the neutral zone, they would have let the play go. But
unless there's contact.
Yeah.
And this might be one of those games where if you're the Mountlake Terrace Hawks, you're going to need to catch some breaks. You're going to need to have some things go your way, like a personal foul that we saw a couple plays ago. You cannot give yourself 1st and 15 very often, because more often than not, you're not going to convert it. Let's see what Williams can do here as he takes the snap. He immediately hands off to Ragsdale. He fights through a couple of tacklers and finally dives forward to the 44, a gain of 5, which will bring up a 2nd and 10.
I do like the way the play calling has gone so far from Mountlake Terrace. You got a brand new quarterback in there. We see him pass the ball one time. That was on a quick slant. And besides that, you give it to your running back and let him go with it. It's a nice job of settling him down.
The outside linebacker, Theo Lebessis, came out a little bit limping after that play, made a stop, at least was in the pile, came up a little lame, and was slow getting back to the huddle.
So 2nd and 9. They're going to call it a 6-yard gain at the 45. Jonathan Williams, the quarterback, this is the Hawks' 2nd possession of the game, takes the snap, rolls out and throws into the flat to Ryan Lacoste, just a little bit too high over his head. That's going to bring up 3rd and 9.
Great pressure right there by Nick Venema of Edmonds Woodway, being right in the quarterback's face when he turns around and for his intended target of Ryan Lacoste. Nice job of trying to get him out of the pocket, and if that outside linebacker did not blitz, it would have been a wide open pass, but it was a nice job of just getting it out of his hands and going to a 3rd and 9 situation as opposed to just taking the sack.
Yeah, and Lacoste actually had a touchdown reception last week. He's shown that he can catch the ball nicely out of the backfield. Actually had a one-handed spear last week that looked fantastic. I think we'll see that play again. This time a pitch to Ragsdale. Starts out to the left, tries to cut it back inside. Unfortunately for him, there's not a lot of room. Gets tackled after 1 yard, and we're going to be looking at a 4th and 8 for the Hawks on their own 46-yard line.
Now, there is the one problem that they just displayed when you have a quarterback come in for the first time in Jonathan Williams. Those long yardage situations, you don't necessarily know if he can get it downfield or if he's comfortable enough and if the pocket's going to stay true. So you have to be able to go to your running back. And if that's the case, those long 3rd down situations, if they have to run the ball, it's going to be tough.
Punt is away, and Edmonds Woodway, who has the receiver underneath it, Scott Myrick's, will return. No, he won't. It will go out of bounds. Nonetheless, Edmonds Woodway will start their 3rd possession of the evening. You're listening to the Sound Live Sports Network here on My Edmonds News, MLT News, or LinwoodToday.com. Thanks for being a part of our world for an evening. The earlier game was the Inglemoor Vikings against the Meadowdale Mavericks, 30-0. The Meadowdale Mavericks took the win in that non-league game, and the Mavericks moved to 2-0 on the season. Edmonds Woodway already with a victory against the Everett Eagles in their first game, their first outing of the season. We're looking to go to 2-0 themselves. Here's the turn and handoff to Opokomensu Jr. Quick to the outside along the left-hand side, makes one stop and returns his pivot to the inside. Finally is driven down, but a 13-yard pickup on the first play of this drive. Opokomensu picking right up where he left off that last drive.
And I like the tight end down there making a block on the corner, but also like last year, Opokomensu was more of a shiftier guy, went to Desmond Young for more of the speed, stretch it out the line of scrimmage and get it outside. Last year, he was more of a shifty, at that time displaying his speed.
I'm not convinced he isn't as fast as Desmond Young. At least what we've seen so far tonight, he's every bit of the back, perhaps not as tall or powerful as Desmond. He's going to Central University next year. Congratulations to that young man. Now we've got a penalty flag down, and the ball blown dead with just under 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. 7-0 your score Edmonds Woodway just marched down with authority in the first drive. Pocomensu 22-yard run with 8 minutes and 23 seconds to go first quarter to make it 7-0. Second drive was stalled with Mac McLaughlin diving over the end line. At least an attempt fumbled there. I think Terrace has to think they're in pretty good shape right now, nearing the end of the first quarter, only down one score. Giles now will go under center, familiar backfield, the handoff play action. Rolling out as Giles will step up through the pocket, has a little bit of running room, eludes two tacklers, up near the first down marker. That is not a Giles. We recognize out of the last 2 years, Stephen, this kid's got a little gas can under him tonight.
Notice that none of the receivers were open downfield. It decided to immediately tuck it and take it up, and a great block by number 71, right tackle, Zach Hollick. Blitz and linebacker came in, was about to tackle Davis Giles. He came in there, depleted him. Giles took it the rest of the way.
First down and 10 yards to go with the ball on the 47-yard line of Edmonds Woodway. Giles calling the shots, will turn, play action fake once again. No, they do give it to Pocomensu, who's immediately wrapped up. The first time he tries to change positions there, or change directions rather, he is dropped like a sack of spuds to the turf.
He is indeed dropped, and that was Annie Klossy making the stop. Number 4. Klossy's an interesting story, guys. He wore I don't remember exactly what I want to say. He was number 55 last year, was an offensive lineman / defensive lineman, worked his tail off in the weight room, worked with a trainer, got himself in great shape, and he's become quite the athlete both in the secondary and playing wing and running the ball quite a bit this year.
Second down and 9 yards to go. Giles back to pass, has a man underneath. That's McLaughlin. He'll have to make something out of nothing there. He was barely able to get back to the original line of scrimmage after the screenplay is busted up. Not fooled the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. They were right into his face mask the minute he turned the ball upfield.
Outside linebacker number 54, Brett Potter, did a nice job of staying home. I don't know if he had a man-to-man coverage on McLaughlin, that's why he was there, or just perfectly read the play and brought him down for a minimal gain.
And Brett Potter is an unsung hero on this defense. I think he led the Wesco 3A South in tackles last year. Second team All-Wesco, had 11 tackles last week in the first game of the year. He's a beast right now, and he's all over the field.
Smart football player.
This will be the last play of the first quarter. And now we've got a timeout on the field. It looks like Edmonds Woodway will take timeout with 2 seconds left on the clock right before they snap the football. 7-0 the score here. You're listening to the Sound Live Sports Network. We'll take a quick break at this timeout. Back up over the ball. We are 2 seconds to go. This will be the final play of the first quarter. Giles in the shotgun will roll out to his left. Has a man downfield. Number 88 knocked away. A beautiful pass into double coverage. The throw. Theo Lebesis with the intended receiver downfield, but well defended by the Hawks.
Yeah, and that's something you did not see out of Mountlake Terrace last week. Both Ryan Lacoste, number 22, and Josh Hopkins, number 11, both coming over, playing that one brilliantly. Last week that might have been a touchdown. They were touchdowns against Stanwood. Tonight, incomplete pass.
That'll end the first quarter of play. Edmonds Woodway on top of the Mountlake Terrace team 7-0. We'll take a quick break and be back in just a moment. You're listening to the Sound Live Sports Network. We are back to start the second quarter of play. Edmonds Woodway will punt the ball away on 4th down. A low kick fielded at the 25-yard line. Good return. 10 yards, 15 yards, finally out of bounds. So good field position for the Mountlake Terrace Hawks to start the second quarter.
Yeah, 17-yard return by Ragsdale. And as I mentioned earlier, the return game was not very strong last week, both kickoffs and punt returning. So far, so good. Well, I guess for the most part, Mountlake Terrace didn't have to worry about the first kickoff return. It was squibbed. But it's nice to see Ragsdale take that ball and go 17 yards upfield.
Well, he had a Warrior right in front of him right when he received the kick, and he did a nice juke move and got right out of there, leaving him standing there. So it was a nice shifty move by Ragsdale to get out of that situation.
So Hawks taking over in a nice spot here. They're on their own 41-yard line. Ragsdale trying to fight through the middle there. Just has no room to go anywhere and is brought down almost immediately for no gain. 2nd and 10 on their own 41. And if you're just joining us, 11:35 to go here in the second quarter of play. Edmonds Woodway 7, Mountlake Terrace 0. A game that had a very interesting start as Edmonds Woodway marched down the field on the first drive, just pounded it right down Mountlake Terrace's throat, scored immediately. The very next play after the kickoff, Mountlake Terrace fumbled. Edmonds Woodway looked like they were going to put on another 7 until a fumble on the goal line. It's gotten a little bit better since, and the game is going back and forth with a couple punts from both teams, and here we stand with 11:10 to go. By the way, incomplete pass by Jonathan Williams, 3rd and 9.
One of the lost arts as a defensive end, mainly all they do nowadays is just speed rush or maybe hold up the tight end or hit the tackle so he's got the outside linebacker to come up and blitz. But they don't do very often, and J.J. Watt is an excellent example of jumping up the air and knocking the ball down. Great job by Brandon Hodengarten. 6'4", 205 defensive end, getting his hands up and knocking the football down.
And Williams, a 6-foot-tall quarterback, needs to recognize that. Needs to play a little bigger. Nice play there as he throws it to Gabe Brady. Very similar to the play we saw in the first quarter. A little slant pass right down the field there. Brady, knowing that he needs 9 for the first down, runs a 10-yard route. Completion, moving the chains, first down Hawks.
The quarterback always loves an intelligent receiver where they know where the yard marker is for the first down. You just said it. The receiver went there, was able to pick it up, and fight for a couple extra more yards in order for the first down.
Brady, 4 catches for 40 yards last week, already 2 catches here tonight. And certainly with some of the injuries that the Hawks have sustained over the last 2 weeks, they're going to need a big game out of the junior, and he's bringing it so far. Let's see if he can continue. The Hawks on the Edmonds Woodway side of the field this time, looking at first down on the Edmonds Woodway 49. Mix up there at the line. Finally, Lacoste takes the ball. Tries to run off the right tackle. Nothing doing as the Hawks are just piled up there by the Warriors. A gain of 1.
Well, Theo Lebessis came up, made contact with that first fake to Ragsdale as he came up. Then the next one, this shows how slowly produced that play was. They need to speed it up. Lebessis was able to fight off of Ragsdale, go down the line of scrimmage and make the tackle. Mountlake Terrace needs to kind of get some sense of urgency. I understand it's the second quarter, but they need to get a faster approach from these offensive plays.
And the thing the Hawks are going to struggle with, too, it's a wing T offense. It's definitely an offense that requires repetition and practice. Jonathan Williams just taking snaps for the first time this week. We'll see how that affects them. Lacoste takes a handoff, gives it to Andy Clossy, who was cutting through the middle. Fairly common play you see in this wing T offense. Not working there as Clossy only able to get about a yard, and that's going to bring up 4th and 8.
Spencer Schultz, outside linebacker for the Warriors, able to stay his ground, stay home, fight off the blocker, and make a tackle. But the nice thing is you have to think with Williams in there, a quarterback and the wing T, with all that mixed direction, they should be able to settle him down a little bit, knowing that the game isn't going to rely completely on his shoulders.
And I misspoke. I was watching the marker on the other side. They had it listed at 4th. It's now 3rd, so we're looking at a 3rd and 10 situation for the Hawks.
Spencer Schultz, the sophomore, comes in largely on pass rush situations, a big body and a very, very quick human being. So it's well justified that kid, as young as he is put into the situations that he is, and I imagine he's going to come in gangbusters now, 3rd and long.
Yeah.
And Schultz is number 44, so we'll keep an eye on him. 3rd and 15 on their own 46. Williams drops back to pass. He's looking deep, finally throws it to number 3, Chance Ragsdale. Tries to find some space, cuts it back into the middle, and dives forward. Gets tackled on the 41, and unfortunately for Ragsdale and the Hawks, he's going to come up just a bit short. However, this is going to cause Coach Tony Umayam to make a very interesting decision. Rather than have 4th and long, we're now looking at about 4th and maybe a yard and a half.
I think at this point in time, you're going up what looks like an overpowering opponent. I think you don't hesitate. You run the football and you try to pick up the first down.
Yeah, short yardage has been hard to come by so far tonight for the Hawks. Let's see what they can draw up here. Williams takes the snap, and this might make that decision easier, as it appears as though right tackle number 74, Caleb Davis, might have jumped a little bit on that play.
And I think that's the second time we've seen Davis do that. So that's one of those things that he's going to have to really focus on. Snap count, snap count, snap count.
And it's not even like the offensive linemen were sitting there in a long position. Sometimes if you're there for just even a couple seconds, you get a little antsy. They just walked up to the line of scrimmage. There's no excuse for that.
You don't want your coaching decisions to be made for you, Steve.
No, not at all. And that, in fact, did make the decision easier, as they will punt it now. Austin Bates back to take the punt. Kicks it away and gets a nice kick away there. Lands on the 7, bounces, and wow, might have gone out of bounds on the 1 yard line as we await to see where they're going to spot that.
That's exactly where it'll be. 1 yard line, if not the 1 foot line, out of bounds. So it'll be a long 99-yard march with 8 minutes to go now in the second quarter of play. Edmonds Woodway leading Mountlake Terrace 7-0. And this is where you find out what your offense is made of.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, that's the punting game, not a strength last week for the Hawks either. For Bates to get off a 45-yarder is impressive enough. For him to get it out at the 1 yard line, even better.
You're listening to the Sound Live Sports Network, presented by the My Neighborhood News Network, South Snohomish County's online gathering place. We'll give you more. It's where you found us right here. We hope you'll stick around for the remainder of this one. A good ball game so far. Another motion penalty, although half distance to the goal line will maybe net you 1.5 inches in this situation.
Good play by Toby Munnitz there, too, the middle linebacker. He really came up and showed Giles that he was going to potentially blitz that play. I think he was almost trying to bait him into jumping off sides. As you mentioned, you can't go back much further, but still, it gets it in their head, and Giles is now looking for him.
Still first down, and it's still 10 yards to go, believe it or not, although the yard markers are only inches apart from one another. Edmonds Woodway is going to have to jailbreak now just to get enough daylight. And they'll get daylight under the legs of Junior Opokomensu. Forward he goes for 9 yards. Scamper, and now you've got a little bit of a deep breath you can take if you're John Gradwell's offensive unit.
Offensive line able to open up some big holes, and then after that happened, Opokomensu using his speed, busting it out to the left side and getting that first down.
First down, 10 yards to go with the ball on the 12-yard line with 7:38 remaining in the first half of play. Giles now will roll out, this time to his right-hand side, tucks it under. He'll have to get through the linebackers of Mountlake Terrace, and he will not be successful, although does pick up 2 yards. But after the busted play, had really nowhere to go.
Davis Giles of last year would have maybe forced that ball in there, tried to fit it into a tight open window. This year, though, you can tell his maturity and is slowly progressing as a leader on that football team, realizing there's nothing there, taking the ball, and trying to see if he can just pick up a couple yards.
That brings up second down and 7 yards to go with the ball on the 15-yard line. The clock will continue to move. Edmonds Woodway marched down the field very quickly. 3 minutes is all it took to push the ball in the first possession they had. Here's the handoff. The pitch now goes to Opokomensu. Busted outside after a broken tackle and then run out of bounds. A penalty marker down near the 20 in the backfield. It's in this position where we will probably have a chop block. And we'll see where that will place the football. It would be a first down if it is against Mountlake Terrace, but that is not where that penalty marker is. We do have an injured Hawk down on the field. And it's hard to see with the training staff around exactly who that big body is. It is holding, so that will take it back. The big run of Opokomensu is erased. Edub will start over.
It looked as though when he was going down to the ground, the reason for that happening is a guy might have gone into his leg and rolled up on his knee a little bit. I hope that's not the case, because that's not a fun injury to have, and I hope this is just kind of anything but that.
Sound Live Sports Network is presented by the My Neighborhood News Network, South Snohomish County's online gathering place. Visit My Edmonds News, MLT News, and LinwoodToday.com for news, sports, and events about your community and see what your neighbors are talking about. So number 60 will be helped off, although now 50, gets up under his own power and wanders off to the sideline.
Yeah, that's James Pollinger, the starting nose tackle. And Pollinger has actually had a very nice season thus far, worked his way into that role, and a player that the Hawks are relying on quite heavily along that front line. Certainly somebody that they're hoping can come back into this game.
Second down and 12 yards to go after the 5-yard march off due to the holding penalty. Edmonds Woodway will have to go from their own 11-yard line now with 6:43 remaining in the first half of play. Certainly the clock ticking down quite a bit now. And Wildcat offense goes right back to, I believe, Mac McLaughlin, the fullback, who I don't think was ready for the football.
No, and usually you don't see Mac McLaughlin get the direct snaps. Usually it's out of the I formation. Giles just turns around and hands it off to him. I kind of like that more of an approach. It's nice to have the big guy kind of get a little bit of momentum hitting that line of scrimmage, but with having Giles just turn around and hand the ball off, he's full steam ahead, and he likes making contact, and if those guys can bust open some holes, he could do a lot of damage.
Third down and 10 yards to go. This is the third down that Edmonds Woodway has had so far in the ball game. Rolling out is Giles to his right, looks down, has a man open. It's caught. And will it be enough for a first down? Yes, it will. Pass is complete to Travis Lyon, the wide receiver, 5'11", 175-pound senior. And yet another target for Davis Giles, another tall target.
Third one of the night, third different receiver he's found. And nice job. Mac McLaughlin, the fullback, standing his ground against the outside linebacker, not letting him go anywhere and giving just enough time for his quarterback to find the open receiver.
So still perfect on third down conversions. There's Edmonds Woodway, and they will try to continue to tack together a march upfield. There's the handoff to Opokomensu. Gets by the blitzing linebacker. And I couldn't tell who got into the backfield, but over-kicked his coverage almost. By the time he got into the backfield on the blitz, he could only get 2 fingers on the jersey of Opokomensu, just enough to slow him up.
That was Edmonds Woodway's crazy play. They pull the right guard going through the hole, and a little unorthodox. The quarterback also goes up through the hole and tries to lay a block as well.
Second down and 2 yards to go with the ball on the 33. Giles now into the shotgun formation, looks around, makes the play action call. There's the snap. Hand off to Opokomensu on the counter, gets past the 35-yard line near the first down marker. It will be a first down. And Edmonds Woodway mixing it up just a little bit now. The counters, the off guard play, the off tackle. They're pretty much every step along the way they're throwing a hole.
Both guards right there pulled. The first guard kicked out the outside linebacker. The left guard is supposed to come upfield and hit the the middle linebacker missed him completely, and he was able to fly up and make the tackle.
A very long drive. It seems almost very uncomfortable, kind of icky almost. It's like running through molasses right now. It just doesn't seem like the drive is going very well, but yet there we were on first down after the incomplete. It becomes second down and 10 yards to go, but everything very much alive for Edmonds Woodway, but it just doesn't feel like it.
It's funny because, you know, obviously our listeners can hear this. You're doing the Edmonds Woodway offense. I'm doing Mountlake Terrace, our respective teams. I feel like I could just kick my feet up and have a sandwich or something. I'm not doing anything here tonight. It's the time of possession's got to be very lopsided right now, and yet the score 7-0.
4:20 remaining second quarter. Edmonds Woodway with the football. Davis Giles now will go under center. He's got 2 wideouts and another motion penalty on the Edmonds Woodway offensive line. That time number 74, Will Segal, jumped. And now that will back up the Edmonds Woodway offense yet again. So the slow drive becomes slower and the clock continues to tick. 4 minutes gone by in this drive, Stephen.
You know what your assignment is as that left guard who just went off, did a false start penalty. All you got to do is relax. They had the perfect formation if they were going to do that crazy play on the defensive side. They had a nice hole in between the nose tackle and the defensive end, there was a pretty wide spacing right there. And if that was crazy, that could have extended it all the way down there for a touchdown. Just relax, listen to the snap count. This is the same quarterbacks you talked about earlier. Different quarterback, different cadence, different sound to everything. Davis Giles, he's been there for 2 years.
Reversing the call, it is an offsides penalty. Lining up in the neutral zone was the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. So a 5-yard penalty makes it 2nd down and 5 after the acceptance. Now the pitch on the student body left to Opoko Mensu. Around the corner he goes. He had one guy to get by. Finally bulldogged to the ground. Up near the 1st down marker. He will be 2 yards short, however.
Nice job of extending that play to the outside, but he never quite turned it upfield to try to get that 1st down. Kind of ran to the sideline, and then before it was too late, tried to, and a nice tackle by the corner out there from Mountlake Terrace.
Ryan Lacoste, number 22 for Mountlake Terrace, has come up lame. It looks like one of those cramps that we were talking about in the earlier ball game where, although it's overcast and a bit misty, it is warm down on the field. You've got to be very careful with your fluid intake. And right now the trainer's out trying to get Ryan healthy enough to continue in this ball game. I'd like to remind you that if you're hungry before or after the game, you can visit Sorelli Pizza, located at 44th and 224th in Mountlake Terrace. Enjoy the best pizza in Snohomish County while watching your favorite sports on the 4 50-inch plasma TVs. Dine in, take out. They're open Tuesday through Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Call 425-670-8600 or visit SorelliPizza.com, just 3 blocks north of Mountlake Terrace High School. Great pie. I know it smells good. After having some in the booth last week.
I can vouch for it. It tastes good as well.
There's the handoff. Straight ahead it goes. Penalty flags fly. The 1st down was reached by Opoko Mensu on the carry. However, with the daisies populating themselves along the 50-yard line out there, we'll have to see if that brings things back.
And Keith, I just wanted to point out for the Hawks fans out there, Ryan Lacoste was able to get up and run off on his own power, so I think we're going to see Lacoste come back in this game. Certainly a guy who they are expecting big things from this year. Starting safety, also starts in the backfield. I think we're going to see Ryan back here shortly.
They have moved the chains 1st down, and I think they picked up the flag, and it will not be a penalty. So they waved off the hanky. The clock, however, continues to spin. 3 and change. 3.5 minutes remaining to go here in first half of play. 7-0, Edmonds Woodway with the ball and the lead. The pitch out now. Opoko Mensu gets a lead block from McLaughlin. Tacks it back up near the midfield line. A little bit of extracurricular after the whistle blew, but no penalty flag there. You can tell it's getting a little bit chippy now.
Both those linebackers from Mountlake Terrace flew upfield, was able to make Junior Pocomensu take it straight upfield. He likes to extend it out to the outside, more towards the numbers a little bit, but with that outside linebacker crashing the party with those 2 blockers out there, he had to turn it upfield and have his other guys make a tackle.
Another long set of downs for Edmonds Woodway. We've seen a lot of 2nd and longs, a lot of 3rd and longs, and here we are with 2nd and 8. Play action pass. Now, man going for the home run ball. Has a man open, overthrew the intended receiver in Travis Lyon, who had beat his man downfield, but just a little bit too much on it.
Beat his man, however, Isaiah Green did close the gap there very quickly. He was right on his shoulder when that ball came in. I think even if that ball's on the mark, you're going to have Travis Lyon is going to have a very hard time making the catch. And I point that out because, again, Isaiah Green, a brand new player to this program, basketball player, just got back into the swing of things in the last couple of weeks, and just in time, we really needed him out there at corner and had a nice play there on his part.
3rd down, 8 yards to go, ball on the 49-yard line. Edmonds Woodway into the shotgun formation, 4 wideouts. They'll swing the ball out into the sideline. Opoko Mensu with it, breaks 1 tackle, gets up past midfield, and out of bounds he goes at the Mountlake Terrace 48.
Great way to get the ball into the playmaker's hands. Just throw it a nice bubble screen. Pocomensu could, if he was able to break those 2 tackles from Mountlake Terrace, could have extended it a little bit further, but a nice gang tackle by those 2 guys of bringing him down.
Another interesting play call for a coach right here. Steve Willits, you got the ball on the 49-yard line. I think the decision's made. We can see it right in front of us, but boy, you give the ball back and the 2-minute drill is very much alive for the Hawks.
It's a very interesting call. Like you said, the Hawks would have great field possession if they can hold off. And maybe that's what Edmonds Woodway was trying to do, although that's going to be a 5-yard penalty against the Hawks. Still 4th down.
Still 4th down, but it makes that 4th and short is a lot more manageable than 4th and 6.
And Warriors are bringing in Zach Hollick, 6'3", 245-pound guy, coming in for a little bit smaller number 58 lineman who's 6 foot 200 pounds, maybe going into some sort of a B formation. And this might be where the case is. I formation, turn around and hand it to McLaughlin and let him pick up those couple of inches.
Looking for some inertia right now between McLaughlin in the backfield. Apokomensu is still in there. Under center on 4th and 1 goes Giles. Here's the pitch. Apokomensu turns it right up. First down. Up near the 40-yard line. Got just enough of a burst to bust through the first line of defense for Mountlake Terrace, and it's a first down with 1:29 to go. They'll move the chains.
Instead of going with the big guy, they go with the fast guy, and that's McLaughlin went out. Nice block on the outside linebacker. Junior Pokemansu able to turn it upfield and pick up the first.
And we're looking no huddle here.
Now going with the hurry-up offense. Giles makes the calls out to his receivers. 2 on the near side. Twins, he'll roll out to that side. Looks downfield, has a man open. It's caught at the 20-yard line. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Warriors! Scott Myrick's with the reception. A 41 yards pass play. And it will be 13-0 awaiting the PAT.
Myrick's had 2 touchdowns last week against Everett, adding to a season total of 3. And that was a close one because that free safety was closing in, and he almost looked like he could have made a play. Instead, it fell into Myrick's hands, and he was able to run away.
Yeah, and that wasn't even the free safety. That was the cornerback, Isaiah Green. It always happens in broadcasting. You praise a player one play, 2 plays later he gets burned. Isaiah going for the gamble there, went for the ball rather than going for the tackle or the big hit. Missed it, and consequently, it was an easy trip into the end zone.
And the PAT is through and good, and we have ourselves a 14-0 ball game. Edmonds Woodway with the lead over the Mountlake Terrace Hawks with 1:06 to play here in the second quarter.
Hey, we've got a quick score from Shoreline Stadium as well. Halftime right now, Shorewood 20, Linwood 14.
Linwood Royals had a tough outing last week. Got the loss, their first one of the season. Looked pretty good. Again, another very good ball game, one that we didn't quite expect, Stephen McGrain. It turned out to be a pretty good game, and unfortunately Shorecrest was able to come back in the second half and put up 13 points and take the W.
Yeah, Linwood cut it close towards the end of that game behind Jungman and Kirkman. I think was the other fullback back there, number 45. So hopefully this week they've cut it close. Hopefully they can capitalize on that and come out with a victory.
And Andrew Katzenberger is who you're thinking of.
And that's a game of interest for the Mountlake Terrace Hawks as well, as that is the next opponent. The Hawks and the Royals battling right here at 5 p.m. next Friday. So with 1:06 to go here in the second quarter of play, the Hawks finally about to take the offense again. It's been a while, Keith. I haven't done this in about 30 or 40 minutes now, it
seems.
seems.
To dust you off, I think. We'll put you up here and dust you off and get you a new glass of water, and off you'll go.
No kidding, just in time here, too. And there goes the kick, another squib kick. Let's see what the Hawks can do with this one. It's still rolling around. Somebody might want to grab that.
Edmonds Woodway, I think, fell on the football. At 21 was down there. No, they will reverse that.
Isaiah Green, who, again, just got burned for the play a minute ago, almost makes his second consecutive error. However, is able to pounce on that one, and the Hawks will take possession here with 1:02 to go in the second quarter on the 26-yard line.
Sound Live Sports Network is brought to you by Harris Ford Lincoln, celebrating 60 years in business. In a newly remodeled facility, Harris Ford Lincoln is the largest volume Ford dealer in Washington State and was voted the best in Western Washington by King 5 Evening Magazine. Harris Ford Lincoln, located at the corner of 200th and 64th Avenue West in Linwood. Visit harrisford.com.
A delay of game penalty against the Hawks coming out of a first down. That's something you never want to see, especially with 1:02 to go here in the quarter. You're looking at a team that's still trying to kind of find their groove on offense. Running the hurry-up offense is tough enough when you're looking at a 76-yard field. Now you're making it an 81-yarder.
delay of game is a little bit subjective at the high school level. It's not like you've got the big play clock in the corner counting down the minutes. You've got a stopwatch or sometimes just a referee looking at his watch, and maybe he does the math wrong. That seemed awful fast to me.
And that's what we get. Yeah, and a handoff right here as Coach Umayam and maybe even offensive coordinator Mike Yalowicki thinking that they might be content going into the half at 14-0, or maybe they were trying to catch the Warriors off guard. Handoff to Chance Ragsdale up the middle for a 1-yard gain. Brings up 2nd and 14, and that clock continues to tick at 43 seconds.
That's exactly what I was going to say. With the first play being a running play and with little time left here in the first half, I kind of want to see Jonathan Williams air the ball out a little bit, see if one of his guys can make a play downfield, possibly give the chance of them going to the halftime down a touchdown.
26 seconds to go. He throws a quick pass out to Gabe Brady. Completion, however, it's only for 2 yards, and now we're going to get a quick timeout from the Hawks with a 3rd and 12. Actually, a timeout from Edmonds Woodway, as they might be trying to get the ball back here or hoping that perhaps the Hawks will make an error on a punt. Hey, guys, I want to also take this time just to mention that we want folks to stick around at halftime. We've got a very special interview coming up. Deb Anderson is going to join us. She is the executive director with the Edmonds Public Schools Foundation. She's going to tell us about an event coming up on October 5th. And I'm surprised we haven't even mentioned this yet.
Oh, we'll get there.
We're going to, and if you follow us on Twitter, you probably already know this, and I think it's been reported in some of the media sites around here. But you and I, Keith Neely, have a little bet. As we've mentioned, you are the play-by-play announcer for Edmonds Woodway. I am the play-by-play announcer for Mountlake Terrace.
How convenient for us.
Yes, and we're broadcasting the game together for the only time this year. So we thought, why don't we place a bet? And I actually asked Deb for her input on this. What should we do? And we're going to give her credit for the idea, and we're going to come right back to that in just a minute. And it's a bet that I'm not looking too good on right now, as the Hawks are trailing 14-0. And hold that thought, and I'll tell you where this bet is going, or where it might be going for me anyway. As Williams takes the snap, handing off the ball, and immediately met in the backfield is Chance Ragsdale by number 85. Brees McGowan Brim? Or was
Brandon Hogan.
Okay, we've got a different. I'm reading off the Terrace roster. There you go.
It's tough to tackle your own guys, although we've seen it before.
JV player. I'm not used to his name. So 4th and 11, 16 seconds to go, and another timeout here as Edmonds Woodway is going to force the Hawks to punt.
And you get one good strike. You just saw a beautiful strike to Travis Lyon for 41 yards, and you get a punt here that doesn't quite go right, or you get a big return. 41 yards is certainly possible.
And you and I both know from doing the game earlier tonight, Meadowdale Inglemore, these snaps are not always an easy thing when you're snapping the ball backwards 15 yards. Ball goes over the punter's head. Maybe you get a safety or a touchdown. Ball is skipped to him, and maybe he has to fall in it on the 10-yard line, and you've got plenty of time at that point. So with only 16 seconds to go, there are plenty of options.
Edmonds Woodway takes their final timeout of the half.
And just to get back to what we were talking about earlier, so you and I have a little wager. The wager is that this event that Deb's going to tell us more about on October 5th, and we'll let her tell us more about what exactly it is. It's a 5K fun run that's going to benefit the schools around the Edmonds area as well as the Edmonds Public Schools Foundation. And one of us is getting our head shaved at the event.
One of us has more hair than the other one, too.
And that one is the one that's losing right now, which will make it even more interesting. Not that I have a ton of hair, but Bates goes to punt, almost gets it blocked. He does get it away, takes a very nice Mountlake Terrace roll, finally goes out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Not a bad punt. That's actually a 49-yard punt, and Bates will take it.
That was almost a touchdown going the other way. Edmonds Woodway had two men at the shoestrings of the punter there, and it was very dangerous territory. But I think because of that, Terrace had to get rid of the ball quickly. The trajectory of the ball was flat, and it actually was a very long roll when it ended up landing.
Yeah, good heads up by Bates just to get rid of it, knowing that he just needs to get it downfield. And I take that back. It was a 39-yard punt. And Edmonds Woodway with one play here with 10 seconds to go.
So now they'll mix things up. Davis Giles will go into the shotgun formation. They'll put three receivers on the far side. Mac McLaughlin, the lone back. And we got a illegal procedure call. I don't know if it was too many men or not enough men on the field.
Too many guys.
Usually that's the case on the illegal procedure. So Edmonds Woodway will be the beneficiaries of a 5-yard penalty. And that'll put the ball on the 43-yard line with 9 seconds remaining in the first half. Giles goes back into the shotgun formation, has McLaughlin blocking. He'll roll out, looks downfield with the long huck down near the 10-yard line where it's picked off.
Ryan Lacoste, number 22, with his first interception of the season.
Evidently the cramps weren't that big a deal. So Lacoste will haul it in. That will end the half. 14-0 Warriors over Hawks. We'll take a break on the Sound Live Sports Network. The Sound Live Sports Network is brought to you by Harris Ford Lincoln, celebrating 60 years in business in a newly remodeled facility. Harris Ford Lincoln is the largest volume Ford dealer in Washington State and was voted the best in Western Washington by King 5 Evening Magazine. Harris Ford Lincoln, located at 20006 64th Avenue West in Linwood. You can visit them online at harrisford.com.
If you're hungry before or after the game, visit Sorelli Pizza, located at 44th and 224th in Mountlake Terrace. Enjoy the best pizza in Snohomish County while watching your favorite sports on the 4 50-inch plasma TVs. Dine in or take out. They're open Tuesday through Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Call them at 425-670-8600 or visit them online at SorelliPizza.com. This Sound Live Sports Network pregame show is presented by Dewar, Meeks, and Ekram CPAs, conveniently located in downtown Edmonds and Marysville for all of your individual and business year-end tax planning and preparation needs. Call Mike today for a free 30-minute consult or visit them online at dmecpa.com.
Clogged drain? Other plumbing problems? Call Action Jackson Plumbing for 24-hour service. Owned by a lifetime Edmonds resident and Edmonds Woodway grad, Action Jackson is the drain cleaning specialist. They can
And welcome back to the Sound Live Sports Network, where your halftime score, Edmonds Woodway 14, Mountlake Terrace 0. And that doesn't bode very well for me, and we're about to tell you why. And with us, a very special guest, Deb Anderson, who is the Executive Director for the Edmonds Public Schools Foundation. And Deb, this seems to be kind of an annual occurrence. We had you on last year. However, this takes a little more of a twist for us. You guys have an event coming up, and I guess I shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves. Why don't you first tell us what the Edmonds Public School Foundation is, and then we're going to talk about this event and how it impacts me, even, for that matter.
So we're the nonprofit agency that raises and distributes funds in support of student learning for the Edmonds School District. So we support a variety of programs, from after-school study programs to summer algebra to distributing computers for low-income families. Just a resource to help the district for help all of our students be as successful as they possibly can. And this is important, right? You're supporting 33 different schools, and yes, some are not as privileged as others, quite frankly. Most people think that the Edmonds School District is an affluent community, and we are in pockets of it, but we have 13 Title I schools, and in one school alone there are over 80 students on free and reduced lunch. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. And so those schools don't raise as much funds as some of our other schools with, like Edmonds Woodway High School, or some of our other parent boosters that have really strong fundraising capacity. Sure, and speaking of fundraisers, a big one coming up. Let's talk about what the fundraiser is first, and October 5th, we've got a 5K fun run. Celebrate Schools, our 5th annual Celebrate Schools 5K run. It'll be at Alderwood Mall. It kicks off in front of Lowe's Theater. It's out and back on the interurban trail, and it is going to be a day packed full of fun. I can't wait. So it's not only a 5K run, but we would like to point out you can walk the course as well. You don't have to be a runner to do this, correct? Absolutely. And you can bring your dog, and you can bring your strollers for your children. And plenty of entertainment for the kids and everything else? Lots of entertainment. Radio Disney will be on hand, Legos, American Girl. there's a children's fun run that takes place just prior to the 5K, and that's free for children up to age 8. And we're going to have a battle of the bands with our drum lines from our 4 high school marching bands, and that's going to be exciting and fun.
And the winning band gets a
$500 gift card for their music program.
So not only is it good entertainment and nice to listen to, it's meaningful too. One of the schools is going to come away with $500. And then we get to the little wager that Keith Neely and I have, the Edmonds Woodway announcer. And this is where it gets interesting. And Keith, who had just walked through Keith, who just walked onto camera here, as you can tell, Keith doesn't have as much hair as I do. Neither one of us have a ton of hair. But Keith, your team's up 14-0 right now. My team is losing. The losing team, the announcer, is going to have their head shaved at the event. And right now I'm trailing by 14 points, so my head might be getting shaved, and I've never had my head shaved before, so I'm afraid to see what it even looks like. But
when I walked into the stadium and I saw that it was 7-0, I thought you might have a chance. But now I'm not so certain. It's not looking good for you, my friend.
And the game's not over yet.
It's certainly not over. We've seen a lot of strange things happen in high school football. And I have to say, after Mac McLaughlin jumped the end line and fumbled the football, it gets a little tense. I mean, I don't have a lot, but I kind of like what I have. So I don't want to lose it yet.
Or that pick at the end of the half Mountlake Terrace did. So that, you're right. It could go either way.
We're going to need a few more of those. But if this keeps going as is, October 5th, my head's getting shaved. And we go back to the event itself, though. If folks want to register for the event or get involved, they can do so by doing what?
Registering online. The web address is edmondspsf.org/5K. It's simple and easy just to register online. They can pick up a registration form at our offices. We're in the district office. They can hand deliver them to us. We'll take them in the mail. P.O. Box 390 Linwood 98046.
And one thing that you and I talked about earlier as well, the proceeds from this event, they're going to be divided up a little bit differently this year, too. This is going to depend on how much involvement each school has, right?
Absolutely. We are donating 50% of the net proceeds back to each school that participates based on their level of participation. We ask that schools have a minimum of 20 runners or walkers, registered runners or walkers, to receive their share of the pie. So the more registrants that they have, the bigger slice of the pie that they're going to get.
So that's certainly should be encouragement right there enough just to get folks out to this event. And as I'm going to mention it one more time, you don't have to be in great shape to do this. You can come out and walk the event or just sign up and hang out and take in the music and all the festive things that are going on. It's for a great cause.
It is for a great
cause.
Or
watch a haircut.
And watch a haircut. Yes.
In particular, yeah. And that might be interesting in itself, because I'm sure if I turn these the Clippers over to either John Gradwell, the Edmonds Woodway coach, or maybe one of his players, they might have a little fun with it, too. I might just not go bald right away. I might get a mohawk or who knows what.
See what kind of design we can have.
Which I did mention to them today, both of them. So we'll see what they do with that.
Well, and again, we're all about good causes, and certainly being that we broadcast for the Edmonds School District, anything we can do to help out, we're happy to do so, and always happy to have you out here as well. And again, October 5th, can't say it enough, and we'll promote this throughout the next couple weeks as well.
Absolutely
So
will.
If you don't remember the website, we'll keep coming at you with it. You can tweet us or ask if need be, but just even if you need to, Google Edmonds School District Foundation, Public Schools Foundation,
Public Schools Foundation,
and you can find it on there, right?
Absolutely.
So again, Deb Anderson, thank you very much. Thank you for letting Keith and I be a part of this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
I should say thank you for letting me be a part of it. I think you're not going to have anything to do with it.
I'm going to watch. Are you kidding me? This could be fun.
Hey, why not? So again, big event October 5th, and we hope that you join us that day. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more second half action here as once again the score at Edmonds Stadium, Edmonds Woodway 14, Mountlake Terrace 0. You're watching the Sound Live Sports Network.
If you're hungry before or after the game, visit Sorelli Pizza, located at 44th and 224th in Mountlake Terrace. Enjoy the best pizza in Snohomish County while watching your favorite sports on the 4 50-inch plasma TVs. Dine in or take out. They're open Tuesday through Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Call them at 425-670-8600 or visit them online at SorelliPizza.com.
Welcome back to Sound Live Sports Network. Keith Neely, Stephen McGrain wrapping up the first half of play here with a little analysis. Edmonds Woodway got on the board first at the 8:23 mark in the first quarter, 22 yards. Opoku Mensah made it 7-0 on the scramble. A very nice first drive. A lot of mix-up that went through the pass. A nice long pass to Mac McLaughlin coming out of the backfield. Opoku Mensah does what Opoku Mensah does every week, and that was a 7-0 score.
You just touched on it, the screen pass to the curl back right on the other side of the line of scrimmage by Mac McLaughlin. They also had a curl route out to the left side that was caught by Lions. And besides that, just nice steady dose of junior Opoku Mensah. Finished that first half with 13 carries for 72 yards.
And then after that, Edmonds Woodway will get an immediate turnover and couldn't do anything with it. Mac McLaughlin fumbled the second drive that Edmonds Woodway had on the 1-yard line, trying to bounce into the end zone. And what looked like it would be a 14-0 early score on 2 possessions turned out to be a bit of a headache for the defensive coordinator for Edmonds Woodway, who had to come back and really put together some really tough drives or stall some tough drives for Mountlake Terrace.
And they did that. They did some blitzing with Mac McLaughlin out of the side, holding only their best running back, Chance Ragsdale, to 5 carries and 14 yards in the first half. Jonathan Williams, statistically, percentage-wise and completion percentage, 4 for 6, wasn't too bad for 23 yards, but his average was only 6 yards, and his long was 13. He needs to start throwing the ball a little bit further downfield to open some things up.
After 1 quarter of play, Edmonds Woodway would still cling to that 7-0 lead. And then back and forth it went before Edmonds Woodway would take the ball in the second quarter with only 1:06 left to go. Got just past midfield after a pair of very nice Opoku Mensah runs to the outside. And Giles was able to find Scott Myricks running up the right-hand sideline for 41 yards. Myricks eluded 1 tackler and went into the end zone 14-0 Edmonds Woodway.
Adding on to his 2 touchdowns from last week, now he's got the 1, so 3 total this year already for Scott Myricks. And that was just a nice crisp pass on a curl route. They had the corner gamble a little bit, which paid off because nobody else was standing in the way of Myricks after he caught the football. But Davis Giles, last week, 66% to finish the game, and he's following just right suit with that with 6 of 10 for 98 yards.
Jack Scholl also had a very nice continuation of a drive with a long catch. Scott Myricks has been in there. A nice pass on a swing route to the fullback, Mac McLaughlin. So a number of targeted receivers now so far for Davis Giles. The receiving core very steady, very capable, and he's got a lot of options out there.
He doesn't have that big name guy, but collectively as a group, they are a dangerous bunch of guys out there on the wideouts positions, at slot, on the outside, at tight end with Theo Lebessis, and that even out of the backfield with Mac McLaughlin and junior Opoku Mensah. Last week, he targeted 4 different ones. This week in the first half, already has 6 guys who's caught a pass.
And for all the injuries, for all the problems that Mountlake Terrace has had coming into this ballgame, all the different shifting positions. We talked with Steve Willis, the play-by-play announcer for the Hawks, of all the different kids that are playing unnatural positions to themselves. To be only down 14-0 after a half, you wouldn't expect that.
No, and they did a lot of nice things. Edmonds Woodway did do the mistakes on themselves. You can always appreciate the effort from Mac McLaughlin trying to extend the ball over the goal line. But besides that, they did a nice job getting in the face of Edmonds Woodway. A couple times he made that defensive play. It was number 24, the corner, the guy who came over who's a basketball player. Great closing speed. These guys on the defensive side can close quickly, and they can explode through the runner and make nice tackles. They just have to be able to, on the offensive side, find that rhythm behind Jonathan Williams, that running back, or the quarterback, and Ragsdale, the running back, and throw the ball further downfield, not do these short intermediate passes, but try to air it out a little bit.
Mountlake Terrace, the Hawks lead the turnover game right now, a +1 in their favor. 2 turnovers for Edmonds Woodway. The last one really inconsequential as it happened as time expired deep in Hawks territory. A little Hail Mary just didn't quite get there, but still when you look at the keys to the game coming into this, one of the things we mentioned was the turnover ratio. Mountlake Terrace is leading that right now. They're going to need to keep piling on that ratio in the second half if they're going to even the score.
Keep piling on, and you just said it. Score as well. They need to be able to capitalize, but that's where the Edmonds Woodway Warrior defense, a little bit bigger, a little bit faster than Mountlake Terrace, and they're not easily letting them get that opportunity.
We're at the half here on the Sound Live Sports Network, the second of a doubleheader. 14-0 is the score. Edmonds Woodway have the lead right now over the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. And now we'll get ready for the second half of action. We'll take a break on the Sound Live Sports Network. Clogged drain? Other plumbing problems? Call Action Jackson Plumbing for 24-hour service. Owned by a lifetime Edmonds resident and Edmonds Woodway grad, Action Jackson is the drain cleaning specialist. They can unclog most internal drains for only $99 plus tax. Call 425-877-5601 or visit actionjacksonplumbing.com. The Sound Live Sports Network is brought to you by Harris Ford Lincoln, celebrating 60 years in business in a newly remodeled facility. Harris Ford Lincoln is the largest volume Ford dealer in Washington State and was voted the best in Western Washington by King 5 Evening Magazine. Harris Ford Lincoln, located at 20006 64th Avenue West in Linwood. You can visit them online at harrisford.com. Welcome back on the Sound Live Sports Network. 14-0 the score in the nightcap game here. Edmonds Woodway leading the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. Scored early on the first possession of the ball game. After that, a little bit of a stumble. But then they kind of found their groove through Davis Giles, the Edmonds Woodway quarterback, who found Travis Lyon for a 41-yard strike into the end zone right before the half with a minute left to go. Mountlake Terrace Hawks certainly have showed their moxie. They're not out of it.
They're not out of it, but they're down by 14, and they've been outgained 239 yards to 51. Time to wake up, or it's going to be over very quickly. We saw this in the first game of the night here at Edmonds Stadium, in which a Meadowdale team that looked like they were the better team against Inglemoor was only ahead by 13 at halftime, and they blew it open in the third quarter. I'm hoping that doesn't happen to the Hawks here, but if they don't do something, and they don't do something quickly, this game could be over before we get to the fourth quarter. Stay tuned and let's see what happens.
You can rely on Ragsdale to try to get you downfield to score, but at a certain point in time, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I've said it 4 times before, Williams has to start throwing the ball downfield. Just try to get that one big play, and that'll put them right back into this ball game.
And on the flip side of that, on the defense, 14 first downs by Edmonds Woodway in the first half. That's a lot of first downs. Talk about just controlling that clock and just winding it down. When the Hawks get back on defense, they need to do something. They need to either get a 3-and-out or force a turnover. They cannot let Edmonds Woodway hold on to that ball for 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time. It's only a 24-minute half.
And the only reason why Edmonds Woodway scored on that last possession is because that corner took a gamble, and he was inches away from getting the interception.
And unbelievable, another squib kick. Austin Bates tries to field it, bobbles it up and down a few times. Mikey Jensen also trying to help him, and finally the two of them together are able to fall on the ball to make sure that it is not a turnover. The Hawks should have been able to return that and get some yardage out of it, and unfortunately they're going to take it at the 26-yard line. So again, the Hawks looking at their first possession of the second half. Steve Willits along with Stephen McGrain and Keith Neely. Edmonds Woodway versus Mountlake Terrace, Edmonds Stadium, and here we go. The Hawks take the snap, hand off to Ryan Lacoste. He rolls out to the right-hand side, finds a little bit of room, pushes forward, and is finally tackled at the 31-yard line for a gain of 5 yards.
He had a little bit of room, and it was a nice job of realizing that, turning it upfield, and just picking up. It was just a couple of yards, 4 or 5, but it was positive for Mountlake Terrace, and as long as they're going in the right direction, nothing else matters.
And the thing that has to be concerning also, Stephen, is that, and I saw it again there just now, these snaps are not real crisp.
No.
Jonathan Williams, every time he gets that snap, especially in the shotgun formation, it's bobbled a little bit. That takes a quick second to get that ball, and that's a second that the defense has a chance to adjust. Another play by Lacoste. This time he's going to the left side, cuts it back into the middle, and is finally tackled down at the 34-yard line for a gain of 2, and we're looking at a 3rd and 3.
Lacoste had 2 blockers right there in front of him, and the worst feeling in the world is feeling that guy breathing right down your neck and cleating you in the back of the ankle, and that very well could have happened for that left guard of Mountlake Terrace. He needs to start getting out there so that your running back can break off of your block.
And this is a big play for the Hawks. Short yardage has not been kind to them so far. 3rd and 3, they need to show that they can get some push on the line and get this first down. Williams goes back to pass. Intercepted, picked off by Edmonds Woodway, and it's going back the other way. Finally tackled at the 12-yard line is number 15, Mac McLaughlin. Read that one beautifully, stepped in front of a quick slant, and took it the other way.
Had an interception last week, didn't return it for any yards, though. His second one of the season. Nice job of stepping right in front of the packs, reading the quarterback's eyes, and taking it the other way.
He was just waiting in the weeds back there. And when the time came, pounced out on that football. Mac McLaughlin does a little bit of everything for this football team for Edmonds Woodway and showed what he can do out of the linebacker core. Now it'll be 1st and 10 on the 14-yard line. A gift handed to Edmonds Woodway right out of the second gate here to start the second half. Opoku almost down to the end line. Rumbles down near the 5-yard line. He'll be just short. It'll be on the 6, so it'll bring up 2nd down, 2 yards to go. Edmonds Woodway in fine position now to break this thing open.
After picking up 8 yards on that first play, running it straight downfield with Mac McLaughlin, lead blocker, look for the same thing.
Mac McLaughlin, the lead blocker now. Opoku takes a spin, bounces off one tackle, and into the end zone. Touchdown, Edmonds Woodway.
Excellent display of not going down with an arm tackle. The middle linebacker came up, popped him, kept his feet moving, was shifty enough to bounce it out to the left, and just tiptoe his way into the end zone.
Steve Willett's hair is already growing shorter as he watches the score go to 20-0.
Yeah, 9:56 to go here in the third quarter, and I guess I could be glass half full and say, hey, there's plenty of time left, right? But
think of all the shampoo you don't have to use. You're saving money, Steve.
And I got to tell you here, as we await the extra point, it's up, and hey, surprise, surprise, it's good. 21-0. Not only shampoo, but I'm glad it's happening in October because normally I wear a hat on the weekends a lot. When you shave your head and you got a tan face and a very white top of your head, that can't be a good look either. So I better stay out of the sun for a few weeks here as I've got 4 more weeks to get rid of a tan.
9:56 remain. 21-0 is your score. You're listening to the Sound Live Sports Network. I'd like to remind you that if you're not quite sure where you will be after high school, Shoreline Community College offers training for rewarding careers in automotive repair, dental hygiene, early childhood education, biotechnology, on and on it goes. You can earn an associate's degree also. Be ready to transfer to a 4-year college. How do you go about doing this? Well, to learn more, visit shoreline.edu. They'll give you all the information you need right there on that website to get started. Thanks to Shoreline Community College for supporting Edmonds District Athletics. And Edmonds Woodway taking the 21-0 lead into the third quarter now with only 10 minutes left on the clock. So a very early strike, and it came at a cost. The turnover ratio has suddenly gone even.
Another squib kick, this time fielded cleanly. That's Isaiah Green. Gets up around the 35-yard line for a gain of about 10, and the Hawks looking to get back in this game. And I sound like a broken record. Better do it quickly. Last time I said that it was 14-0, though. It's 21-0 now. And the Hawks are looking at 1st and 10 on their own 35.
Really quickly. You're going to have to put some urgency into this right now.
Yeah, the Hawks down by 3 touchdowns, and so far tonight only have 3 first downs. So you do the math. It's a rough go for them, but we'll see what they can do here. And I'm sure Coach Umayim and the rest of the staff made some adjustments at halftime. We're only 3 plays offensively into this half, so let's see what happens here. Lacoste takes the handoff, and apparently Mr. McLaughlin didn't have enough fun last time he was on defense with the big interception. This time he shoots the gap, tackling Ryan Lacoste right away. No gain, and we're going to call it a 2nd and 10.
Keith and I just gave each other a look because we know how Mac McLaughlin plays football, and like he said earlier, he does everything on that those two plays that they just scored, lead blocker, got the interception before that, and he can also fly and explode through that line of scrimmage and make a tackle for loss.
And he's all over the place. That interception when he was out in the flats, now he's barreling up the middle. Where is this guy not?
Edmonds Woodway doing a lot more blitzing packages than they're used to.
And another quick handoff there. This time it's to Chance Ragsdale. Ragsdale trying to run over the left guard. Gets about 2 yards, and once again the Hawks are looking at a 3rd and long, this time 3rd and 8.
Sophomore Spencer Schultz went off a blocker, was able to tackle Ragsdale before he could pick up any more yards. But both these linebackers, the middle linebacker, McLaughlin on the strong side, Schultz on the weak side, nice job of exploding and getting to that runner before he can do any real damage.
So for the second time in the third quarter, the Hawks looking at 3rd down. Last time was an interception. Let's see what they can do this time. Fake the handoff, rolling out to the right is Jonathan Williams. He's in trouble, still rolling out to his right, looking downfield, throws it up, complete! Austin Bates with the catch! Bates tackled at the 44-yard line, a gain of 13 and a Mountlake Terrace 1st down.
Nice job by Williams staying alive in that pocket. He had a big guy, I think it was Hodengarden, right into his face, jumping up in the air, blocking him, shielding him from any receivers. Stepped up in the pocket, kept on rolling out to the right side and delivering a nice pass. Great athleticism by the receiver to get it and come down before he got hit.
Some miscommunication between Chance Justice and Andrew Mahoney Fernandez over there defending on who was going to take the man underneath.
And that was actually a 19-yard gain by Bates. This time they're going to try a roll-out pass here, throw it to Lacoste. He breaks one tackle, almost breaks free of the second tackle, finally falls forward down to about the 38-yard line. We'll call that a gain of 6 and a 2nd and 4 for the Hawks.
Look out, guys. Mountlake Terrace is getting a little bit of a rhythm in there with a deep pass down there. Now a nice little dump off to Lacoste, breaks a couple tackles, picks up about 5-6 yards.
You can hear the chants now. Save the hair. Save the hair. Hawks 2nd and 4 at the Edmonds Woodway 38-yard line. 7:25 to go here in the third quarter. Edmonds Woodway with a 21-0 lead, but the Hawks are driving. Any Klossy up the middle. Breaks through from one tackle and was ankle tackled finally at about the 32-yard line. Gain of 6, but it's enough for a Terrace 1st down.
Got to get yardage in chunks, at least when you're down 21-0. Anything positive at this point is going to be very welcomed on the far sideline.
And Andy Klossy initially staying down after being tackled there. Again, it was an ankle tackle. Looked like he might have twisted his ankle just a little bit. Gets up, and he seems to be running fairly freely now as goes off on his own power. Looks like he's jogging pretty well. However, he will be out on this play.
Is that Lacoste or is that Ragsdale? Or number who came off?
It was Klossy that went off.
Okay.
Andy Klossy, the wing back. He takes a break, and now we've got Ragsdale and Lacoste in the backfield along with quarterback Jonathan Williams. J. Will throwing it deep. Looking at Gabe Brady, incomplete. The junior wide receiver on a out and up pattern there, and he was double covered, so that was probably just as well as Williams just unloads it. Overthrows everybody on that one, and the Hawks will be looking at a 2nd and 10 at the Edmonds Woodway 33.
If he did think time was running out on him in that pocket, and he did decide to just throw it downfield, intelligent job. But if he wasn't, and he was trying to find his guy right there, number 15 for Mountlake Terrace, Austin Bates, 6'2", 220. He's a big tight end out there. Then that wasn't very an intelligent throw.
Yeah, 2nd and 10, 6:56 to go here in the third quarter. Handoff to Ragsdale, and unfortunately for Ragsdale, he had a pulling guard cut right in front of him. The feet were caught up there a little bit, and Ragsdale tripping over his own player there, loses 2 yards, and that is the last thing the Hawks need, as now they're looking at a 3rd and 12.
On a drive where you finally got some momentum, you've got some sustained movement forward, the last thing you need is an undisciplined, unfocused group, and that seems like the last 2 plays have just kind of slipped away. It wasn't that they did anything outright wrong, it's just a little details get missed.
3rd and 12, Williams rolling out, he's being chased, throws across his body and incomplete, looking for Gabe Brady down the field. And again, rolling out to his left, right-handed quarterback. That's a tough play regardless, and with a couple of Edmonds Woodway Warriors chasing him down, makes it even tougher.
Outside linebacker blitz for Edmonds Woodway, and the left tackle for Mountlake Terrace didn't block anybody. That defensive end went through with being untouched. So before he even knew it, Williams was being pressured. But a nice job, just look downfield, not see anything, and just throw the ball away.
So down 21-0, 6:12 to go in the third quarter. You're already in Edmonds Woodway territory. Even though it's a 12 yards to go for that first down marker, you pretty much have to go for it here, and that's what the Hawks are going to do. Williams in shotgun formation, drops back, rolls right. He's looking downfield. He better do something quickly as here come the Warriors, and down goes Jonathan Williams. That was number 27, Tyler Reinford for the Warriors, and that is a turnover of possession as well.
Sophomore doing a good job in pursuit there. Unfortunately for the Hawks, there were two men downfield that were open on the play, but I don't think the quarterback necessarily felt comfortable getting it up over the top. It would have been a long throw off balance.
And in that regard, just good job of just taking the sack, letting the turnover go. Of course he wanted to pick up that first down for Steve's hair, but take the down, let your defense try to get you the ball back.
So now the offense will start for Edmonds Woodway. Davis Giles play action fake will roll out to his right. Has a man open, caught by McLaughlin at the 50-yard line. It'll be short of the first down, but a gain of 8 yards. And the pickup continues for McLaughlin, eating up yardage both offensively and defensively, getting the pick, getting a nice swing out pass in the first quarter that set up the first touchdown. And here now in the third quarter of play, getting positive yardage from that backfield spot.
Giles just playing catch with his guys out there.
5:33 to go, third quarter. And the keeper goes past the first down marker near the 45-yard line. A good initial surge by the Warrior lineman. It stalled a minute, didn't look like he was going to get across, and finally it broke free.
I tried to watch his helmet right there, and so I knew when he was going to fall down and be tackled, and it stayed up the entire time. He kept on kind of dancing a little bit, and then you just at the last second turned it upfield, picking up positive yards.
I am impressed with Davis Giles and his footwork this season. It has definitely turned the way he plays around. Into the shotgun formation. He'll keep it himself. That's the Wildcat to McLaughlin. He'll take the direct snap. Does not gain much. Good pursuit and a good first hit by the Mountlake Terrace Hawks.
Steve, I've got to tell you, too, you watch those drills that you see sometimes, that a lot of times in colleges especially, and each college has their own name for it, I suppose, where it's just a good old-fashioned tackling drill.
Oh, yeah.
One guy's got the ball, the other guy's got to make the tackle. You know who I would love to watch do that in practice sometime? McLaughlin for Edmonds Woodway and Brett Potter for Terrace. The two of them going head-to-head is just something to watch, and both of them fighting like crazy on that last play.
That's exactly what happened. It was a stalemate for a while. There's the pass, open on the flat, and dropped in and out of the hands for the intended receiver. That was Scott Myrick's. It falls incomplete. He puts his hands in his head, on his head. He's definitely disgusted. He thought he had an easy first down right there. Instead, it becomes 3rd and 8.
Just simple, not watching the ball come into him and catching it with his hands, turning it upfield, worrying a little bit too much about that corner and free safety.
One rule for a receiver, catch the football.
See the ball in.
And that time it was in and out of the hands, and that will draw an offsides penalty, or in the neutral zone goes number 60, encroachment. Gabe Fritz, 6'2", 215-pound junior, got into the neutral zone.
Fritz, the younger brother of Owen Fritz, who was an all-Wesco offensive lineman and defensive lineman for the Hawks, who is now playing football down at Linfield.
Nice collegiate career, great way to start it. A lot of football to be played after high school, especially around this area. And now that'll make it 3rd and short now. 3rd and 3, ball on the 37-yard line for Edmonds Woodway. Davis Giles has McLaughlin and Pocomensu behind him in the I formation. Play action fake. He'll roll out to his right. Has to beat one man. Now he'll reverse traffic. He'll get the first down and then some. Past the 30 and finally out of bounds up near the 20-yard line. Warrior fans are looking for a late hit. I don't think it was. I think he was clearly in bounds. and that will advance the chains. First down near the Mountlake Terrace red zone.
Talking about the progression of Davis Giles, last year that would not have happened. Had a defender right in his face, able to look downfield, nothing was there. Change completely different directions and turn it back to the left and pick up a first down. Nice. Whatever they're doing at Edmonds Woodway in their offseason program is working right now, and it's showing with Davis Giles.
Gabe Fritz was well in the backfield and broke that play up for the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. He's had a couple of good pushes through the interior. Now the pitch out to Opoku-Mensah. He has a lead blocker. McLaughlin turns it up. Smashes in near the 10-yard line. Down he goes. I think he'll be just short of the first down marker. That'll bring up second down and 1. 3:55 to go in this third quarter of play. Edmonds Woodway with the lead 21-0 over the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. It's the second game on the Sound Live Sports Network. Tonight we also had a Meadowdale win over the Inglemoor Vikings 30-0. A lot of other action going on around the league. We'll get to that here in a moment. Here's the pitch out to Opoku-Mensah. He'll just waltz in before diving over the end line. Touchdown, Warriors.
The last block he needed was given to him by Hayden McGrath. Was able to get up there and get a free safety, the right guard. And after that, that was the last guy they needed to spring Junior Opoku-Mensah free for a reservation for 6.
Edmonds Woodway now will go in and try to attempt, I don't know if it's a 2-point conversion. Certainly a lot of help from the crowd and disappointment about something.
Well, they marked the ball down on the goal line, so I think the Edmonds Woodway crowd was thinking it was a touchdown, and now they're being told it's not.
Still 21-0 on the scoreboard, so that's what I thought. I have to say, I thought he got in, but perhaps the last dive in was actually a bounce, and he was down first. So now a penalty, I'm guessing delay of game, and that's exactly what it is. That's a little difficult to manage when you think you've got a touchdown, everybody rushes off. Referees are just going to mark the ball and start the clock, and that's what happens. So now instead of first and goal at the 1, you've got a first and goal at the 6-yard line. Opoku-Mensah, the lone back, and Davis Giles right next to him to his left. They'll wildcat it to Opoku-Mensah, drops it initially. Now he'll get up over the end line. Haven't seen the indication yet. There it is, touchdown Warriors.
Great wildcat. That was the first time Opoku-Mensah's been back there at the running back position, and they directly snapped it to him. It had been Mac McLaughlin. Followed, and this is going to be weird to say, followed his quarterback through the hole, who made a nice block on the linebacker, and Opoku-Mensah dove in for the touchdown.
And that will extend the lead for the Edmonds Woodway Warriors, pending the extra point here. Brendan Davis, the kicker, is on, and it is up and through the uprights. And that will make it 28-0 Edmonds Woodway. We'll take a quick break on the Sound Live Sports Network. Edmonds Woodway 28, Mountlake Terrace 0. The Sound Live Sports Network is brought to you by Harris Ford Lincoln, celebrating 60 years in business in a newly remodeled facility. Harris Ford Lincoln is the largest volume Ford dealer in Washington State and was voted the best in Western Washington by King 5 Evening Magazine. Harris Ford Lincoln, located at 20006 64th Avenue West in Linwood. You can visit them online at harrisford.com. You're watching the Sound Live Sports Network. This broadcast is being produced by the students in the Edmonds School District's CTE department. If you are a student and want to join our production crew up here in the booth and on the field behind the camera, you want to join the action, call Angelo Como at Mountlake Terrace High School. We'll be happy to field your questions. Pretty easy. All you got to do is look up on Mountlake Terrace High School under staff, and Angelo is right there, but request in, and he'll get right back to you. And here's the punt.
And that's a little bit of a surprise kick as Edmonds Woodway finally boots one away. Mountlake Terrace has to fade way back as the return men were pulled way up thinking it was going to be a squib. Brian Lacoste fields it on about the 2. However, he's able to get it back to the 19 for a 17-yard return. And that's where the Hawks will take possession with 2:39 to go here in the third quarter. And they're trailing 28-0. Going to get you guys caught up on a few scores here as well. As we've got some of the 7 o'clock scores in right now. Some of these are a little bit behind, so we might be getting some more updates as the night goes on. We mentioned earlier, Shorewood was leading last time we checked, 20-14 over Linwood at the half. As Jonathan Williams awaits the snap here. Pitches is out to number 3. That's Chance Ragsdale. He's looking for room along the right-hand side. And Edmonds Woodway continues to swarm on defense. Ragsdale pushes the pile forward a little bit, is able to pick up maybe 4 yards, and that's going to bring up a 2nd and 6.
Free safety came up, ran down the line of scrimmage, as well as the defensive end and the defensive tackle running down the line of scrimmage, not giving Ragsdale anywhere to run. And that was a nice job by the entire unit of Edmonds Woodway.
We mentioned in the previous game to this how impressive the defense was for Meadowdale, shutting out opponents over 6 quarters. Edmonds Woodway 49-0 last week up at Everett. Tonight blanking Mountlake Terrace almost through 3 quarters.
And encroachment there on Edmonds Woodway, that will give the Hawks a free 5 yards, and that will bring up a 2nd and 1. Yeah, indeed, if you look at it that way, we're talking about a 77-0 score over the combined 2 games for Edmonds Woodway. You can look at that a couple of different ways, and in all fairness, and I hate to say it, Everett is struggling right now.
They are very much in trouble.
They are definitely a team that is down, and we saw that last year on a few occasions, and I think that it's going to be more of the same this year. Hawks picking up a first down there as Ragsdale running off of left tackle. Lunges forward to the 32, a gain of 4 and a first down. And we're already seeing it tonight here. As I try to look at the score here, I thought I saw something earlier, and maybe I did not. Okay, that's an 8 o'clock game, but Everett playing Jackson tonight, and that's a game that could get very ugly as we're looking at one of the powerhouses of the North End against a team that's struggling. So we'll see where that one is. And Jackson picking up a big 59-37 win at Monroe last week.
I can only imagine how that one ended tonight.
Yeah, an 8 o'clock start, so it's probably just underway right now. Ragsdale again going off of a left tackle. A couple of games of interest, though, for us. Glacier Peak, a team who many people think will win the 3A South, leading Snohomish 15-13 at the half. That's a crosstown rival game as the 2 coaches know each other very well and are good friends. And that's for bragging rights in Snohomish. 2 other games that I think Mountlake Terrace fans and Edmonds Woodway fans might want to know about because of the fact that they played these teams last week, and maybe gives us a little more insight as to what to expect moving forward here as we I'll get back to that after this play. Hand off to Ragsdale again. This time he barrels his way down to the 39-yard line. No, I take that back as we're spotting the ball back here. It might not have been Ragsdale. Jonathan Williams fooled all of us, even one of the referees who followed the play and marked him down initially. Williams had the ball the entire time, gets tackled for no gain, and we're looking at a 3rd and 11. So getting
actually
back,
a loss of 3 on the play, I believe.
Loss of 3, even worse. So it goes for the Hawks. The Hawks' opponent last week, Stanwood, who beat Mountlake Terrace 29-13. They are losing it to Mount Vernon right now, 21-3 in the third quarter. That doesn't bode well. And then the other game of note, Kamiak, a team that, I guess that's a team that Meadowdale played last week and looked pretty good in that game, but came up short against Meadowdale. They're beating Marysville Gitchell, a team that's very improved this year. They're beating them 21-0 in the first quarter. So look out for them as well.
That game at the half now. Linwood, the other team that played last week, Shorewood 21-14 in the third quarter. So Linwood finally putting up some points. It's a team that I thought had a lot of potential. Actually won the war as far as total yards, but just didn't show up on the scoreboard. They've got some potential this year. They just have to get a couple of breaks, I think.
And I'll tell you what, the fact that Kamiak is doing what they're doing to Getchell in the first quarter tells me that they're a pretty good ball club. Kamiak lost to Meadowdale last week. I think you guys are in for one heck of a matchup next week. 8 o'clock here on the Sound Live Sports Network. 2 what looks to be undefeated teams if this score holds up, and I don't doubt that it won't. Edmonds Woodway is going to come into that game 2-0. Meadowdale 2-0. That's a heck of a battle, guys.
It's going to be fun. It always is.
I was going to say, if you want to talk about rivalries, that is the rivalry of all of them with Stadium Jam and just the whole bit happening here at Edmonds Stadium.
You notice how he called it Stadium Jam. That's a good Edmonds Woodway fan right there. Jam the stands if you're Meadowdale. Stadium Jam for the E-Dubbers.
I've learned over the years.
And now Mountlake Terrace will go back on offense.
Yeah, fourth quarter starting up right here. 3rd and 11 for the Hawks. They're going to throw it deep. That's Isaiah Green. Intercepted is Edmonds Woodway's number 24. Connor McCole picking that one off, just playing a little good old-fashioned center field, just waited underneath the ball. Isaiah Green, the intended receiver, not sure he ever knew where that ball was, and McCole just waited for it and picked it off.
McCole's slot receiver was doing just a streak straight down the field, and once he turned around at his first glance at the quarterback and saw where the ball was coming, he broke off of that route, went to the next one down, and that's where he just sat for the ball and waited for it.
Edmonds Woodway now will get the 3rd turnover, a couple of interceptions and a fumble recovery, and now we'll go back on offense under the direction of the quarterback Davis Giles, who takes the snap under center, hands it off to none other than Poco Metsu. No, excuse me.
Chance Justice.
That is Chance Justice. Busts through one would-be tackler, loses the football, and everybody dives on it. Mountlake Terrace looked like they had it first, and then it got away from number 54, Brett Potter, after he pounced on it, and Edmonds Woodway recovers. That was a grease pig down there near the 15-yard line.
And you know what? We saw about 4 of those here last week in the Mountlake Terrace Stanwood game, and I don't think the Hawks recovered a single one. Not that it matters. I'm not making excuses. They lost last week by 16, and they're down 28 tonight. But at the very least, you'd think something could go right.
What a bizarre play.
There's a reason it's not round. That thing squirted out, bounced around, bounced back, and finally Edmonds Woodway just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And right now, that right place is the 15-yard line. Chance Justice bounces outside, crushed by a host of Terrace Hawks. And that will bring up 2nd down and 10 yards as Chance is stopped for no gain.
Pulling guard Tony Kovic just completely missed the outside linebacker. I don't know if he didn't see him or if he thought the guy behind him also pulling that tackle was going to pick him up. Ran right by him, and that's the man who ultimately made the tackle.
10:33 remain in the 4th quarter of play. Edmonds Woodway with the ball, 28-0. There's Justice straight up off the right tackle, gains 5 yards. And right now, E-Dub and head coach John Gradwell content with taking little bites at a time on the ground to run this clock down. 3rd down and 5 yards to go. Next week, Edmonds Woodway will face Meadowdale in the late game. Mountlake Terrace is on the road. Actually, they're here against Linwood.
Linwood, 5 o'clock.
That's right, they're the early. We got all 4 Edmonds district teams in the house. Next week, there's a very errant pass.
Austin Bates is on the defense there. Almost had his 2nd pick of the season.
Theo Lebessie's the intended receiver, and that almost I had to stop for a minute and make sure that was Davis Giles because that did not look very Davis Giles-esque.
Lebessie's was sitting there at the 1st down marker, sitting there, and he waved his hands up in the air for Davis Giles to be able to see him, and right when he did, the safety broke down. And right at the end of that play, you can say Davis Giles he was a little displeased with that. But it was a nice job of Lebessie's to settle down in the open space, but you got to make sure no one else is around you.
So 4th and 5, a field goal attempt coming up. And remind me to tell you what's on my phone right now after this
I'm
field
not
goal.
going to have to remind you. Here comes the field goal attempt. It is up. It's long enough. It is no good, wide to the right. It initially looked like it was a low snap. The holder had to push it back up on to a kickable ball, and it goes just wide, and the score will remain 28-0. But another good drive by Edmonds Woodway after the interception to get back down into Mountlake Terrace territory, something they have had no trouble doing in at least the last 5-10 minutes of play.
Well, I don't know how good of a drive it was or if it was them just kicking the ball about 15 yards before somebody decided to ultimately jump on it for a fumble recovery, going back to Edmonds Woodway. But it's always nice to see guys get in the game who don't typically do, especially running back with Chance Justice in there right now, getting the carries with Poco Mensu's night over.
And the Hawks back on offense, and immediately going back to the running game, Chance Ragsdale fighting for extra yards on that play. Makes his way forward to the 26-yard line, a gain of 6, and that will bring up a 2nd and 4. What do you guys think of my picture here?
Looks
We're going
good.
to have to
You like
show
that?
this on camera.
Yeah,
if
can we
get it
get a
turned
view?
around
So
here.
I should give a little lead-in for this. This is actually my headshot as it appears on the Hawkeye.org, which is the Mountlake Terrace High School newspaper website. I do a weekly article on there. And Vince DeMiro, who runs the newspaper and is usually with me up in the booth, as we'll await this next play here. Ragsdale running off tackle to the right. Gets tackled at the 28. We're going to look at a 3rd and 2. So Vince DeMiro has taken my picture, and he's done a little he's done a little editing to it to show what I look like bald. Again, if Mountlake Terrace loses tonight, I get my head shaved on October 5th at the Edmonds School District Foundation's Fun Run at the Alderwood Mall. So here's what I look like with hair. This is actually me. And if Teresa can put that picture back up, that's me with hair right there. And apparently this is what I'm going to look like. Here you go, Teresa, if you want to hold that in front of the camera there. This is what I'm going to look like on October 5th without hair. So
I think you got it working. It's
Yeah.
not eyebrows. We're not betting eyebrows here. What's a little hair?
yeah, we talked about eyebrows briefly, and I thought I might lose my job if I did that. So we went against that. But bald doesn't look that bad, does it, Steven? What do you think?
It looks good.
My head's not actually that big.
It looks
so
it looks much better on you, Steve.
I look like remember Mork from Mork and Mindy back in the day? That's kind of what their head looked like, wasn't it?
I think we could go a long ways with that.
Or it looks like the Coneheads from the
Coneheads
old Saturday Night
from
Live.
Saturday
That's what it
Night
reminded me
Live.
of.
So that's a big head right there. That's not me, fortunately. So again, a nice little fun time had by Vince DeMiro. It's good to see that.
Oh, it's fun.
Vince called in sick today. I guess he's really
He's really feeling horrible.
laying low right now. Yeah, as Jonathan Williams fumbling the ball there on 1st and 10. Going to lose about 4 yards consequently, and that's going to bring up 2nd and 14 as the Hawks still looking to possibly get on the board here. 7:20 to go in this ball game, trailing 28-0, and we are 7 minutes and 16 seconds away from me getting my head shaved on October 5th.
Mountlake Terrace plays Linwood at 5 o'clock next Friday, the early game here at Edmonds District Stadium. A couple of tough ones. They go back. They actually have Linwood, which I think they probably have a good shot at, and then Glacier Peak.
It's a good matchup, actually, with Linwood and Mountlake Terrace right now, I think.
And then they go on the road up to Everett Memorial to play Everett, which at least the discussions that we've had earlier, a very winnable ball game, I believe. And then you got to come back for 3 right here at Edmonds District Stadium, Meadowdale, Shorecrest, and Shorewood.
And, I hate to do this and get too far ahead, but, I mean, at some point we have to start looking at this a little bit because it's reality. It's a very interesting scenario as far as what the playoffs look like in Wesco. And quite frankly, in our division, the Wesco 3A South, if you finish in the top 2, you automatically qualify for the playoffs. If you finish in 4th or 5th, you're out of the playoffs. If you finish in 3rd place, in Week 9 you play a crossover game to play for the right to get into the playoffs. So here's where things get a little interesting as Williams throws a pass out into the flat. Ragsdale catches the ball, lunges forward to the 35, a gain of 11, and that's going to bring up a 3rd and 7. And this is kind of the quirkiness of what is Wesco playoffs. Mountlake Terrace could almost go into the games weeks 7 and 8 against Shorewood and Shorecrest. You could almost go into that game with potentially a 1-5 record. You could actually go in with an 0-6 if you really wanted to. You don't want to, but you got a few games that are winnable in there. You could go into those games 1-5, hopefully get healthier by then. Maybe a Jevon Pawnui comes back, Justin Hopkins, and some of the other guys. You beat Shorewood and Shorecrest, and suddenly you finish in 3rd place, and the rest of the season's completely thrown out the window. And in Week 9, you're playing for the right to go to the playoffs. I mean, it's crazy, but it's doable. It's very doable. And Edmonds Woodway adding a little insult to more injury. Touchdown on the interception. That's number 27, Tyler Reinford. Pick 6 for Edmonds Woodway, and the score is now 34-0 with 5:27 to go.
Reinford, the sophomore, we talked about him earlier when he was able to make a very good, fast move off that end line where he plays defense into the quarterback. And there he shows how he reads pass defense.
Man coverage from Edmonds Woodway. He followed Ragsdale out of the backfield. Was sitting right there where Williams threw the football. I don't know why he threw it. He could have just thrown it down to the ground and just taken the next play. Decided to throw it. Nice interception. Reservation for 6 going the other way.
Edmonds Woodway tacks on the extra point and makes it 35-0. And they are definitely in charge at this point in time of this ball game with 5:27 remaining. You're going to get a lot of extra players coming in and out now. Boy, you get a little bit of extra playing time right now. Edmonds Woodway enjoying back-to-back blowout games, and not only does that keep your team that you need on the field in big games healthy and clear of any injury for long periods of time, but it allows a lot of experience to be built up by your second and third string.
One of my favorite times when I was playing was when we got up to a big sizable margin to the other team, and then the other guys got to come in. It's fun, being the starter and whole thing, but if you got the backup guys, the scout guys who give you great looks every single week, and then that shows on the field with their production that they gave you throughout the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practices, when those guys get to go in and get a run around a little bit and hit somebody of a different color jersey, that was my favorite time throughout football.
Sound Live Sports Network is presented by the My Neighborhood News Network, South Snohomish County's online gathering place. Visit My Edmonds News, MLT News, and LinwoodToday.com for news, sports, and events about your community, and see what your neighbors are talking about. And that's why we are here right now, thanks to the My Neighborhood News Network. Our executive producer on the night, Teresa Whipple, does a lot of work for Sound Live Sports Network behind the scenes. We're very blessed to have her a part of our broadcast team. And if you want to listen to any of the games going forward or backward, you can click on the On Demand tab at any point in time and watch the earlier game, the Mountlake Terrace game of last week, the Meadowdale versus Inglemoor game earlier tonight. They're all there for your enjoyment. 5:27 remain in this one. 35-0 Edmonds Woodway.
Yeah, I have a feeling more Edmonds Woodway folks are going to go back and watch this game than Mountlake Terrace folks, unfortunately. And we can say that about last week as well, too. So, but like you said, going back or moving forward, and for the Hawks, one heck of a game next week. I think the Linwood game could be very interesting. Two teams that are both looking for their first win, and it goes right back to the fact that it's another rivalry game. Two teams that are no longer in the same conference, but are only separated by a few miles, and we used to always refer to that as the Mall game because it was for Mall bragging rights, and that was a phrase coined by Roger Ottmar, the longtime basketball coach at Mountlake Terrace. Of course, Linwood no longer right across the street from the Mall, but the Mall seems to kind of separate the two, so we know high school students like to hang out there, so why not?
And we saw Linwood last week, and they're also a running football team with Katzenberger, Jungman, and Kirkman, and that's kind of the same way that Mountlake Terrace plays, run the ground game. Whoever is at the end of that game has time of possession on their side, I think is going to come out with a victory.
And I know that the Linwood kids that are there from last year haven't forgotten the 42-0 beating that the Hawks put on them.
Drubbing.
And it's a drubbing, and those kids don't forget, so that's a little extra incentive for them as well, so stay tuned. Nice run, and he's still on his feet. Is that Chance Ragsdale? My goodness, he's still going. Chance Ragsdale for a 36-yard gain off of left tackle. Had about three different guys try to grab him by the jersey, and he just fought his way through that and got all the way down to the 40-yard line. And, hey, the Hawks might still have a chance to score here. 4:14 to go on the clock. Hey, guys, real quick, too, got a couple scores. These are finals, apparently. Shorewood did defeat Linwood 20-14. It's the score at halftime, and apparently that was the final score as well. Another interesting game, Marysville-Pilchuck 37, Lake Stevens 24. Marysville-Pilchuck might be one of the top 5 or 10 teams in the state this year. They are a very loaded team. Austin Joyner, who was a sophomore last year, ran for over 2,000 yards and is already being recruited by most Division I schools on the West Coast. He is one heck of a player, and Jake Luton, their quarterback. It's not too bad of a 1-2 punch, and Tomahawks rolling.
They weren't down for very long. A couple of off years, maybe 2-year valley there, and then they're right back up in the premier of the Wesco.
Well, and I've always wondered what the Getchell effect was going to be on them. I mean, I think a lot of us thought, here comes another...
It was there. I think it was there for a short period of time.
Well, Getchell's only been open for a few years now, so the fact that the Tomahawks are still able to stay up on top and, like I said, I mean, they might be in contention for a state championship this year. It's early, but they're playing very well, and I think they're obviously the premier team up in the north end anyway, and for them to be doing what they're doing with a new school that just went in just not too far away from them 3 years ago, that's an accomplishment.
One of the games that I think we're kind of watching right now as far as the 4A bracket is concerned in the West Coast South is the Cascade Bruins, who right now with a win, let's see, they played Shorecrest 48-13 to go to 2-0, and they'll be right at the top, up with Jackson and Edmonds Woodway at 2-0 in the West Coast South 4A. So those two teams separating themselves very quickly from the other three. Kamiak, Linwood, and Mariner are all at 0-1 going into tonight's ball game. Although Kamiak with the win will go to 1-1. It could be a very, very top-heavy division when you look at the way that Jackson Timberwolves and the Cascade Bruins have played as of late.
Yeah, when those games come up for Edmonds Woodway, I think they're towards the latter part. They go Meadowdale, Jackson, and then Cascade.
Wow.
That's
very front-loaded season for Edmonds Woodway. You get through that, and you'll be in some pretty good shape if you're able to probably take 2 of 3. I'd say you've got yourself a division.
By the way, Isaiah Green with a carry. I believe that was his first carry of the ball game. Gets tackled for a loss of 1, 3rd and 9. Yeah, Cascade, I can't think of the kid's name right now, but a transfer from down in the south. And quarterback who I believe has from Florida, and I think is it South Alabama where he's got a full ride scholarship to play next year, and I guess he is something to watch. And Cascade, a program that for many years in the 90s under Terry Ennis just dominated up in Snohomish County, really kind of fallen off the map the last few years, but they're starting to get that program turned around.
Bruins have always been tough, especially when you play up at Everett Memorial. Edmonds Woodway has gotten the better of them the last couple of seasons.
Nice run by Andy Clossy as he gets a 5-yard gain there, and that's going to bring up 4th and 5. Yeah, really, that's a 3-week stretch that's going to be awfully tough and a lot of fun for the Edmonds Woodway fans to watch. You go from, it's Jack and Meadowdale, Jackson, and Cascade. Those are your next 3 games. Wow.
That's right.
And then Kamiak again beating up Marysville Getchell pretty good tonight, and they gave Meadowdale all they could handle. So that's really a 4-week window where boy, if you're a Warrior fan, look out.
I don't like this schedule. I'll tell you why. It's because
other than that,
it's because of the way that you've got Linwood and Mariner to end your season, your regular season. There's a fumble down
on 4th down at that, and Isaiah Green maybe trying to make something happen here. Nice fight from him. He gets a couple yards, but that is going to be a turnover on downs, and Edmonds Woodway takes over with 1:39 to go.
To finish my story, the way this front-loaded schedule plays out, you end up with Linwood on the October 18th and then Mariner October 25th. Edmonds Woodway has this nasty habit of taking a big lull right before the playoffs, and they never really get out of it. So when you get a schedule like this where you play all your really tough rival games, your in district matchups, and they're fights to the tooth and nail through the first 3, when you come out and get a break, if you're unhealthy or injured, maybe that's one thing. If you're not, it can be really troublesome when you get to the playoffs.
You can look at it that way. You can also look at it as if they come out on the right side of that 4-game stretch, then you got Linwood and you got Mariner to kind of rest your guys a little bit before they ultimately, as they always do, play Lake Stevens, who's always their team
in the district championship twice now in 2 years.
But you can look at it as, wow, that's a tough couple of weeks coming up for Edmonds Woodway, or majority of those tough teams, they can get out of the way, and if they're on the right side, then they got Linwood and Mariner to finish it out.
It's interesting that Wesco went to this 2-year thing a couple years back where they just flipped the schedule from 1 year to the next. So if every team you played in 2012, you played again in 2013, only you switched home and road. And generally speaking, let's be honest, for the most part, you can look at teams in Wesco up and down all of the conferences and all of the divisions. You kind of know who the powerhouse teams are from year in to year out, and you kind of know who the teams are that are going to struggle a little bit. And with all due respect to Linwood and Mariner, they've been 2 of the, let's just say, the not-so-good teams over the last couple of years. So really, you guys weren't benefiting at all from that schedule being a back-to-back again this year because you got the same 2 teams to play out week 7 and 8.
And we felt it last year. We came out and just really took a deep breath, maybe too many deep breaths, as Chance Justice takes it past the 45-yard line here for a first down. Justice doing a great job of backing up and getting time. Junior Opokomensu taking a seat here in the 4th quarter. But you're right, Steve. Things, you can look forward to it. Sometimes you get a class maybe that comes through. It's a sophomore class that can adjust, and suddenly you may overlook a team or 2, but that's rare.
Right.
And so I don't think that's the case here with Linwood. I don't think that's the case with host Kavari Russell Mariner.
Well, two games into the season, 2 shutouts for the Edmonds Woodway Warriors.
35-0 the final here. Edmonds Woodway takes the win over the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. And they will move to 2-0 on the season. Mountlake Terrace drops their first 2 of the season, and they are 0-2 heading into the game on next week, Friday, against Linwood Royals, a game which should be a very good battle between the two teams, and of course the rivalry matchup between Edmonds Woodway and Meadowdale. So 2 rivalry games are on the slate for next week. We hope you'll join us 5 o'clock the first game, 8 o'clock the second. That's the way it'll run down all season long here on Sound Live Sports Network.
Yeah, and again, this is a tough one for the Hawks. They're licking their wounds tonight. It's really strange. I mean, having been a longtime Mountlake Terrace supporter, a graduate of the school, and somebody who's gone to the games even before that, historically we know we're not a very good program. There's been a lot of losing seasons, 20 in a row to be exact at one point, from 1986 to 2005. But I think that the thing that's the toughest for the Mountlake Terrace Hawks fans right now is that this was kind of the quote-unquote our season year. This was the year things were going to change. We made the playoffs last year. 2 out of 3 seasons we had winning records, and when we started to look at the team that we had coming back this year with Devontae Downs and with Jevin Pawnui, big time struggle there. And now the Hawks, not only are they losing, but they're losing in a season that they thought they were going to do big things. The question is, how do you psychologically get to these kids now and tell them, hey, the goals have changed, it's time to regroup, and we have to do something different, and it makes it that much tougher.
Let me take you back to one of the keys to the game that we mentioned when we started our pregame show, and that was the turnover margin in this ball game. If you want to hang your hat on something that you can talk about as a coaching staff, it's those mistakes. And some of those were pretty obvious that the ball should not have been thrown. I think you can take some very obvious learning experiences away from that. And if you can cut those turnovers down, you don't have a score like we just saw here. It may be only 2 touchdowns. It may be only 10 points. And you get long in the season, other teams make mistakes. You can make up 10 points. Making up 35 is very difficult.
Right.
And only one of those was a pick 6 return to the house. Other than that, you have to play field position, and where that occurred, Mac McLaughlin took it back down to maybe the 12-yard line. Perfect scoring distance for Edmonds Woodway. And then the other one, I believe it was McCall who just sat there and intercepted it. That was brought back on the other side of Mountlake Terrace 50-yard line. So just that also kind of, obviously, where the field position is and where that occurred is also a huge part as well.
It's one of those things that you kind of look on paper when you start this thing, and you got an idea in your back of your head. But again, it's high school football. Things are funny. The ball's not round. We mentioned that. There's a fumble down here that 2 of them, matter of fact. Chance Justice dropped one not that long after Pocomentsu had some trouble. And the balls are bouncing around down there. Mountlake Terrace picks it up. Things change just a little bit. I'm not saying that they're going to change wins for losses, but certainly the outcome 35-0 is going to change.
Sure, and I have to tell you guys, as an outsider, if you will, for Edmonds Woodway, I know you two see them on a regular basis, and you covered them all last year. I was extremely impressed. Davis Giles, we got to watch him play last year. I think he's vastly improved from last season. He was a good quarterback last year already. And then you got Mensah and a few of the other players, and McLaughlin. Solid team. You guys are in for a really fun season. And oh, by the way,
our Jersey Mike's player of the game, Davis Giles, will join us here in the broadcast booth. Davis, why don't you kind of step up in here?
Davis, I'm going to have you get in between us here, so make sure we get you front and center. You deserve it. 35-0 victory tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We just talked a little bit about how your off-season conditioning and foot speed, it was night to day, last year to this year. Tell us, before we get into the game tonight, tell us a little bit how you prepared coming into this season.
Well, we have our trainer, Kevin Kalila, and I work with him down at Harbor, too. And then he's our off-season trainer in the summer. And so twice a week we do speed and agility. And we all just get out there and go hard for an hour, and it really helps.
Do you feel faster?
Yeah.
It's got to be the shoes, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your game preparation coming into this. Mountlake Terrace Hawks, traditionally not a powerhouse. It's not a Jackson or a Cascade, which you look at, are also undefeated on the season coming into this. Next week, 2-0. How do you prepare for Mountlake Terrace?
We look at it the same. I don't think overlook anybody because, watching film, I knew they were going to be strong up front. And, even though, like, the weaknesses they had last week, I knew they were going to work on them this week. And, we can't look over anybody. And we're just kind of playing warrior football. We aren't focused on who we're playing. We're going to play ourselves.
Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, too. Obviously, this game, we're going to let you celebrate it a little bit. But as you know, huge game coming up next week, huge rivalry game, Edmonds, Woodway, Meadowdale. Meadowdale hasn't given up a point in the last 6 quarters either. You as a quarterback, I'm sure you noticed the score when you walked in today playing right before us. Talk to us a little bit about what you're going to do to prepare for that game.
We're going to be watching film. We'll watch film from this game tomorrow morning and learn like what we need to do better, and then we'll watch some Meadowdale film and just figure out what's going to be the best calls, where we want to run the plays and stuff. And we're obviously it's a rivalry game, it's a big game, but we're worried about playing ourselves, playing the football we can play.
You marched down the field the very first possession for a touchdown. It looked easy. Did it feel easy?
Actually, no. My read this week was to call like crazies away from the nose guard, but they were blitzing the other side, and so it was kind of a funky look the first drive.
Was it scripted?
No. Most of the plays we did were on check with Mths, so it's like he wants to run a crazy and I'll call it to either side. But once we got later in the game and we figured out like where the best call is, we started calling it in the huddle.
Having a fun time your senior year?
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, we'll let you get back down and celebrate with your teammates. Thank you, Davis Giles, for joining us up here. Our Jersey Mike's player of the game, Davis Giles, a 35-0 win over the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And Davis, anytime you outscore your opponents in your first 2 games 84-0, kind of hard not to have a lot of fun, right?
Oh, I know.
Okay. Again, thanks a lot, Davis. We'll let you get back down there right now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So, again, the Jersey Mike's Linwood player of the game. We appreciate the folks from Linwood for chipping in and giving that to us. Today's player of the game award is presented by Jersey's Mike's Subs in Linwood, located across from the Alderwood Mall. Jersey Mike's offers authentic East Coast sub sandwiches made Mike's way using the finest quality ingredients. Jersey Mike's offers affordable catering with free local delivery. Visit their website at jerseymikes.com. Serving quality subs since 1956. Taste and believe. And again, Jersey Mike's Linwood, we appreciate your sponsorship and doing the player of the game.
That's the final here from Edmonds District Stadium, 35-0, the final in this one. Edmonds Woodway takes a 2-0 record into next week's ball game. We've got a graphic for you for next week's ball game, so you can put it down. Make sure you get to My Edmonds News, MLT News, or linwoodtoday.com. You can also find us on soundlivesportsnetwork.com. Thanks for being with us for a long day of football here starting at 5 o'clock. You will find Linwood versus Mountlake Terrace. The Hawks are up first versus the Linwood Royals, and then the nightcap game, the 8 o'clock, will be the Edmonds Woodway Warriors in the rivalry matchup. Jam the stands, stadium jam, whatever you want to call it. It should be a dandy. Mountlake Terrace and Edmonds Woodway putting up big points in the first 2 ball games.
Yeah, and again, 84-0 for Edmonds Woodway. We'll repeat that one more time. And then Meadowdale hasn't given up a point in 6 quarters. I have a feeling there's going to be a little bit of offense played in that game, though.
There should be, without a doubt, and I'm looking for Edmonds Woodway to come out with the same approach, though. Run the ball with Junior Pokemensu and then open it up with the play action and try to find one of those 5 targets that Davis Giles has downfield for a big play.
And for the Hawks against Linwood.
2 teams 0-2, 2 teams licking their wounds. And, again, it's enough to say that it's a rivalry game, but this is much bigger than that. These teams are trying to get on track because they've got a lot of season left, and getting that first win is always a big one.
Not time to panic yet.
We're getting there, but not quite yet. And again, Mountlake Terrace looking at a lot of injuries. Some of the injuries are kind of day-to-day right now. If you can get a couple of those players back, it could be a very different-looking team next week. Stay tuned.
Again, the 5 o'clock game is Linwood versus Mountlake Terrace. The 8 o'clock game will be Edmonds Woodway versus Meadowdale. Thanks for joining us on the Sound Live Sports Network. For producer Teresa Whipple, we appreciate what she's doing behind the cameras and the scenes. For Steve Willits and Stephen McGrain, thanks for being with us. You're listening to the Sound Live Sports Network.
Good
night.